Hi everyone, please subscribe to my channel. Blood Immortal. See playlist for other chapters and novels. Join now our Telegram channel now and enjoy exclusive early access. t.me/blood_immortal_official. I do not translate the novels. Credits goes to original translator and author of the novel. I only make it as an audiobook so it would be easier to just listen while doing other things. Credits goes to the author of the novel. I convert stories to audiobook for mental health, for multitasking purpose, for accessibility and time saving. Listening to audiobook is also beneficial for people who have disability. It improves our listening skills and improve our English comprehension, vocabulary and other things. So, thank you for listening. Thank you and thank you very much for your support. Chapter 681, You Want to Learn? I Can Teach You. Chapter 681, You Want to Learn? I Can Teach You. Instantly, Reverend Shakia began to churn his powers as an infinite amount of Zen light shone into the sky. The land of paradise where one shall never fall nor reincarnate. The masses shall be cleansed and be ferried into the purified lands. The body of Reverend Shakia was shining with an endless amount of purifying Buddhist lights at this moment. When these lights were cast on the heads of those two ancient race beings, they started growling out harshly all of a sudden. Bald monk, how dare you try to reform us? The two ancient race beings had not expected this person to be from the Buddha race. The purifying lights of the Buddha race were extremely powerful, and it was hard for any normal person to defend against them. This was especially the case for the ancient race beings who were deeply embedded in their lives of sinning. With their hearts filled with vengeance and hatred, the purifying skill of the Buddha race was able to bring that out and have them come to terms with their own sins. With that, they would then get enlightened and reformed in the process. Therefore, for the ancient race beings, the purifying skill of the Buddha race was extremely tortuous. Both benefactors here, your sins are grave. If I don't enter hell, who would? Today, I shall admit all of your sins onto my body. This poor monk is willing to endure it all for these two benefactors. Purify. All of a sudden, the faces of those two malevolently growling ancient race beings changed their facial expressions repeatedly. Those baleful eyes of theirs began to calm down as that horrifying expression turned compassionate. Their pitch-black hands were placed together as they chanted out the Buddhist mantra. Amitabha. Under this mighty purifying skill, the two ancient race beings could hold on no longer. They were completely reformed under Reverend Shakia. With that, they took on the body of an arhat as their golden bodies shone with a Buddhist light. Subdue. As though he was pinching flowers with it, the fingers of Reverend Shakia pinched the two ancient race beings together as he tossed them within his paradise of Buddha's land. Holy FCK. Just how many ancient race beings has this C***CKSTER gotten? The moment Reverend Shakia opened up his paradise of Buddha's land, even Lin Fan nearly pissed out at the sight of the sheer number of ancient race beings within it. Within the Buddha's land of Reverend Shakia's paradise, all of those vile ancient race beings could be seen to be extremely benevolent looking. Sitting down on mats, they were chanting out sutras. Between the palms of every single ancient race being, there was a series of white light that was fusing into the paradise. I knew it. This bald monk isn't all that nice. Seems like the reason why he's purifying these ancient race beings is so that he can keep them within his paradise of Buddha's land and collect their faith to strengthen it. However, I've got to say that skill is really quite something, isn't it? Looking at that skill, Lin Fan was getting some urge to learn it. Even though he had the Thunder Trainer King, the Thunder Trainer King wasn't used for a group attack. If he could learn this Buddha skill and fuse them together, what sort of effect would that bring forth? All of this had Lin Fan really curious. However, right now, Reverend Shakia was the only one who knew this skill. How was he supposed to learn it? That did pose a little bit of a difficulty. Clap, clap. Not bad, not bad. Bald monk, that skill of yours is pretty domineering, Lin Fan smiled casually as he applauded. The moment Reverend Shakia heard these words, a devilish grin appeared across his face. Oh, you wanna learn it, Sure, I can teach you. But you've got to revert my chest to normal first. At this moment, Reverend Shakia was finally finding some sense of satisfaction in his heart. After being treated like normal for such a long time, he was finally getting a chance to strut his feathers. This purification skill of mine is detached from the great Buddha's light of purification, and can only be considered as a type of Hinayana Buddhism. If it were the great Buddha's light of purification that was cultivated to its maximum, you could purify all the masses with just a single thought of yours. In fact, you could even purify the heaven itself. But, it's a pity that the great Buddha's light of purification has long been lost in the books of history. Reverend Shakia said with a helpless tone. The moment Lin Fan heard of this great Buddha's light of purification, he felt his heart pounding with excitement. To think that there would be such a heaven-revolting skill available. However, when he heard the last sentence, he started cussing out. Bloody hell, what was the difference between saying this and nothing at all? However, that didn't matter as well. If he could learn this purification, there was a high chance that he could cause it to evolve and bring it up to its highest state for sure. However, the thing was, he couldn't even learn this purification right now, let alone talk about bringing it to evolve. If he could dismiss the effects of Black Tiger Steel's heart, he would have done so long ago, let alone wait till now. Who said that yours truly is keen on learning it? Something such as Hinayana Buddhism isn't something that yours truly even wants to look at. Even though Lin Fan did not say it with his mouth, he wanted to learn it badly in his heart. In fact, even the Thunder Trainer King within his paradise was starting to cry out. Master, you must definitely learn this. If you can learn this, your Trainer King here would be able to evolve into the Enlightenment Buddha King for sure. The Thunder Trainer King begged thirstily. No hurries, we'll take it slowly. One of these days, we're definitely going to get to learn it. Lin Fan replied consolingly. Yes, Master, I trust in you. At this moment, the Thunder Trainer King was hallucinating about the grand disposition he would possess upon turning into an Enlightenment Buddha King. That thought was intoxicating. Well, I guess let's forget it then. This skill of purification is a skill that's exclusive only to the Buddha race anyways. Even if this poor monk wishes to teach it to you, he has to follow the rules accordingly. Reverend Shakia sniggered out. From Lin Fan's eyes, he could make out a thirst within them. However, there was no way this poor monk was going to teach him unless he reverted these lumps back to normal. These two living beings are really devious. That's right, to think that they would raise a commotion to lure others over so that they could subdue them. This is quite the despicable move right there. How about we go and kill these two fellas then? No, the both of them have extremely high cultivation states. We might not be their match at all. HMPH. Then let's just follow behind these two guys. If we get the chance, we'll kill both of them. Alright. Seems like there are two other fellas hidden in the void. Lin Fan cast his gaze towards the void. Slapping out with his palm, the void shattered immediately. As a result, these two figures were forcefully pushed out of the void. Not good. We've been discovered. Run. These two benefactors are carrying a heavy amount of sin on them. Their sins are blood red. Evidently, they've killed many innocent living beings. Let this poor monk reform them then. Reverend Shakia did not expect things to be this great by following the Mother Sea King Human King. Back in the past, if he wanted to meet great sinners, it would be extremely difficult. But, look at how things were right now. One wave after another, the sinners were presenting themselves right here. Smelly bald monk, you think that you're enough to reform us? You've got to be dreaming. The moment these two living beings heard that the bald monk was going to reform them, they were stunned immediately. Channeling their powers, the void nearby began to rupture out as they wanted to dive in once more. It's alright, don't bother with reforming them. Just kill them straight up. Lin Fan pointed out with his finger. A sharp sword will pierce through the void, ripping them into two balls of flesh and meat instantly. Damn it, how dare you try to kill us? We're from the Scarlet Moon Blood Demon sect. That ball of flesh and blood continued to rumble furiously, trying to regroup into a full body. However, under the suppression of Lin Fan's powers, they were just exploding endlessly. Benefactor, let this poor monk reform them. Looking at how Lin Fan was going to murder these two powerful beings, Reverend Shakia could feel his heart throbbing. He tried striking out instantly. However, it was all too late. At that moment, a gigantic arm appeared out of the void all of a sudden. Splitting up into countless gigantic arms, they grabbed out at every single piece of flesh they could get and dragged it all back. Arg hhhhhhhhhhhhh. The tragic cries were endless. However, before they knew it, Lin Fan had tossed the two lumps of flesh into his paradise. Ding! Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 6, Lost State Powerful Being. November LBJNN. Ding! Experience points plus. Benefactor, that's too wasteful. Reverend Shakia cried out as his heart wrenched. Hee. Chapter 682, Blood-Colored Mountains. Chapter 682, Blood-Colored Mountains. To think that even the Scarlet Moon Blood Demon sect would send members down. Just what sort of a secret is being hidden in this place for it to be able to attract these many powerful beings? Reverend Shakia could not get it at all. Could there be some sort of a heaven-revolting treasure that had appeared within this simple and plain-looking secret ground? What's up with this Scarlet Moon Blood Demon sect? Lin Fan asked. There were way too many powerhouses within the ancient saint world. Other than a special few, he didn't know about all the others. This Scarlet Moon Blood Demon sect is extremely strong. Rumors have it that the Grand Master of the sect isn't even a being of the thousands of races. In fact, he's a demon of the Scarlet Moon Abyss. He is extremely ferocious, and has cruel methods. The moment he appears, it is a guaranteed bloodbath that no one can possibly stand up to at all. Reverend Shakia explained. Have you seen him before? Look at how serious Reverend Shakia was looking right now, Lin Fan asked him in reverse. Nopes, but I've heard about him from others. Reverend Shakia replied. Stop believing in the rumors spread out by others that you haven't confirmed with your own eyes. Can't you have some backbone of your own? Lin Fan was truly exasperated by this bald monk right now. Benefactor, I wonder if you've ever heard of a saying. Reverend Shakia took in a deep breath. Right now, he was at Lin Fan's behest due to that favor he required of him. Hence, he had to bear with it. What saying? If you don't listen to the wise words of the elderly, you're bound to suffer losses. Reverend Shakia said. Take a hike. Lin Fan did not want to argue with this bald monk any further. He looked up ahead at the distance. There was some commotion that had attracted two crowds to it. If there were truly some sort of a treasure up ahead, these wouldn't be the only guys who they would be sending here. After all, these guys are probably just cannon fodder to scout out the way. Benefactor, the connate element of wood is truly in that direction. Are you really not going to head there? Reverend Shakia asked. Nopes, not going. How could Lin Fan do as this bald monk wished? Just because he had slipped up earlier on, this bald monk had already managed to successfully act once. This was something Lin Fan could not tolerate at all. Lin Fan looked over at the bald monk. He realized that not only was this bald monk not pained over that fact, he was, in fact, looking pretty happy. Since that's the case, Benefactor, please continue to wreak havoc and attract more sinners over. Let's split them up 50-50. How about that? Reverend Shakia suggested gleefully. The stronger the living beings that he reformed, the greater the faith collected from them would be. Those two ancient race beings who had just been reformed, for example, weren't weak at all. Compared to those living beings in his Buddha's land paradise, they were even slightly stronger. It was only after the diligent efforts of many years that Reverend Shakia had managed to raise his paradise to a Buddha's land state. However, given the type of living beings within his paradise right now, there was definitely no chance of him being able to raise the Buddha's land into Buddha's world in this lifetime. Reek your mother, we've wrecked this place up so badly just now, and there were only these few fellas who had come by. Move on ahead and head deeper. Lin Fan replied. Yes, your words make sense, Benefactor. The moment Reverend Shakia heard this, his eyelids opened up wide. That was right, each time they wrecked a single place, they should change another place. If they were to stay in the same spot, who in the world would come by? Lin Fan did not reply Reverend Shakia any longer as he flew in the direction up ahead. Essence Spirit Separation. At this moment, Lin Fan silently allowed his essence spirit to enter stealth mode before leaving his body and heading forth towards the place where the connate element of wood was. By now, Lin Fan was completely trusting of the words of Reverend Shakia. Even though he did not say so on the surface, he thought so in his heart. However, even if that were the case, Lin Fan could not possibly head there himself. Hence, he allowed his essence spirit to head over to suppress the connate element of wood and collect it first. Benefactor, I felt a breeze blowing by me. Reverend Shakia suddenly came to a halt and announced with a puzzled look on his face. You must have sensed wrongly. Bloody hell, did this bald monk have some sort of a radar or sh*t like that? To think that he could even sense his essence spirit under stealth mode. This was truly FC Kamali Holy Dogamali. Right now, Lin Fan's heart was hurting really badly. He had wanted to cause a ruckus so that a group of huge bosses would appear, and this bald monk would be scared off. By then, things would be much easier. However, it was a pity that everyone who had arrived was as weak as a chicken. They were just weaklings that could be overwhelmed with a single palm flip, offering no threat at all. Secret grounds. Seems like some great battle has happened here earlier on. Emperor Nangong looked at the derelict state of the place before him and commented with a stern expression. I garner that those two who had entered this place must have gotten into some sort of a brawl or something. But, that's good as well. With them as the front line, we can just sit back and reap the rewards later on. Xing Wenggong laughed out. However, he was still watching Mu Manfang, who was beside Emperor Nangong, warily. He had not expected this Mu Manfang to be this strong earlier on outside. To think that he would have suppressed Eulutian with such absolute force. That sort of power that he held was causing them to grow wary of him. If they were to truly find some sort of treasure within this place, it was hard to say that Mu Manfang would not slaughter them and steal the treasure for himself. Initially, the three of them had wanted to work together to slay Mu Manfang. However, based on the situation right now, it seemed as though Emperor Nangong had already made up his mind to stick with Mu Manfang all the way to the end. Even if the three of them were to join up, it was hard to say that Emperor Nangong might or might not choose to side with Mu Manfang instead and turn against them. By then, things would be pretty disastrous. Therefore, the three of them merely exchanged glances while harboring intents of their own. For Eulutian, it was especially the case. He could not have imagined himself losing at all. Furthermore, it was a downright loss. The moment that damned fella had stomped him right under his feet, Eulutian swore to God that he would have this guy dead without any burial at all. "Let us watch out," Emperor Nangong said as the 5-men party headed forth. Benefactor, look up ahead. To think that under the nourishment of this dense chi of the wood spirits here, even the ground itself has turned into essence. Reverend Shakia saw a plot of ground trembling up ahead and could not help but comment out. The pieces of rock that were as huge as mountains were starting to group up into a stone giant. The aura of the connate element of wood in this place is really thick indeed. It's natural that all of these living beings would grow to a decent cultivation state under the nourishment of this aura. Lin Fan slapped out with his palm, sending this gigantic stone giant into his paradise immediately. Benefactor, why did you strike out without saying anything at all? This poor monk here was trying to reform it. Reverend Shakia's heart felt as though it was jabbed through once more. To think that he would be slower by a step once again. No one asked you to be slower than me. Lin Fan chuckled out. There's one more up ahead. Benefactor, please do not snatch from this poor monk here. Just as Reverend Shakia's heart was wrenching over it, he caught sight of another stone spirit up ahead. He then bolted up forth and deployed his skill impatiently, reforming that stone spirit immediately as though someone was fighting with him over it. Holy FCK, this guy wouldn't even let a divine celestial level 1 living being off. The bald monk is the bald monk indeed. Wherever he passes, nothing is left alive. Lin Fan sighed out. Shing. Suddenly, Lin Fan felt yet another surge of energy vibrating. This force was sinister and awfully strong. Benefactor, check out those 5 blood-colored mountains. Reverend Shakia exclaimed out in shock. Yours truly has seen them. Don't make a fuss out of nothing. Lin Fan was exasperated right now. Those 5 mountains were bloody big. It wasn't as though yours truly was blind or anything. This is the aura. Back when we were outside, this poor monk here had sensed a malicious aura. This is it. Reverend Shakia's expression could not help but stern up. Benefactor, we had better not head over. The aura over there is really suspicious. Reverend Shakia had a sharp innate instinct towards all sorts of calamity and disasters. This was the type of senses that one would only obtain after they reached the highest state of Buddhism. You can choose to leave this place. However, yours truly is going to head there and check it out. How could Lin Fan give this chance up? Looking at how nervous this bald monk was, Lin Fan was elated in his heart. It'd be for the best if this bald monk knew of the difficulties ahead and gave up on his own. Furthermore, even if this bald monk weren't here, Lin Fan would have headed up nevertheless. After all, if one were to find a really suspicious place upon entering a secret ground, there was no reason not to check it out at all. Chapter 683. We'll split it 50-50. Chapter 683. We'll split it 50-50. Benefactor, watch out. These 5 blood-colored mountains possess the power to bewitch one's heart. As they got closer to the 5 blood-colored mountains, Reverend Shakia frowned. His eyes shone with a sharp glint that sent a Buddhist light out to suppress the bewitching magic. Just how in the world did something like this form? The mysterious runic symbols on these 5 blood-colored mountains. Reverend Shakia was stern right now as his mind spun furiously. Suddenly, he exclaimed out, "Ah! I remember now. This is the Great Devouring Formation." Great Devouring Formation. After reading intensively within the library of the Cloud Sect, Lin Fan's knowledge of the world was as vast as the oceans right now. A slight whir of his brain, and he knew of everything immediately. Seems like there's some powerful being that's trying to absorb the source of this connate secret ground. However, since he's choosing to remain in this secret ground where the connate element of wood lies, he must be fraught with injuries for sure. Lin Fan continued. That's right. The Great Devouring Formation is a heaven-defying formation. Even though it has no offensive capabilities of its own, the other effects are unusually scary. However, given the state of the situation right now, it seems as though the formation has stopped functioning for now. Something must have happened in between. Let's head in and check it out. Without any hesitation, Lin Fan walked towards the 5 blood-colored mountains. Reverend Shakia grew wary. Everything seemed way too sinister. If it were just the Great Devouring Formation alone, then it wouldn't amount to anything much. However, the most critical point was the fact that the Great Devouring Formation had stopped functioning all of a sudden. This only left them with two possibilities. Either the powerful being who was filled with injuries had recovered from it entirely, or that he was dead. However, to be able to attract this many other powerful beings to this area, there must be something more than what was apparent on the surface here. Benefactor, this Great Devouring Formation has already been crafted into a treasure. You can reap it in later, Benefactor. Reverend Shakia remarked. Then, why aren't you doing so? Lin Fan had not expected this bald monk to be this kind to let up this treasure right before him for Lin Fan. This poor monk is someone who practices Buddhism. Hence, this poor monk has no need for items as such that would defy the natural orders of the world. Reverend Shakia replied. Bald monk. So, you're trying to say that yours truly here is evil? Lin Fan was triggered immediately. This bald monk was just taking an indirect jab at him. Benefactor, this poor monk here did not say that. You're the one who confessed to it yourself. Reverend Shakia immediately denied that accusation. Lin Fan. At this moment, a formidable force was remaining hidden in the depths of the void. Let them check out the state of the place first. To think that the gleaming blood lord who was gravely injured 1,000 years ago would be hiding here and recuperating his wounds. If not for the recent phenomenon happening in the sky, who would have guessed that the notoriously infamous gleaming blood lord would be hiding in such a small little secret ground? Now that the Great Devouring Formation has stopped functioning, it's only right to guess that the gleaming blood lord must have fallen here. However, no matter what, the gleaming blood lord was an abnormally powerful being. Even if he were dead, he wouldn't have allowed just anybody to get his treasures that easily as well. We'll let those two fellas give it a shot first. Even if they manage to luck out and obtain the treasure of the gleaming blood lord, we can just surround and kill them later on. Eventually, the treasure shall belong to us. At this moment, Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia had turned into the cannon fodder for those powerhouses out there. Benefactor, this poor monk senses that there's something wrong. The void seemed to be hiding all sorts of powerhouses. Reverend Shakia could feel his heart thumping. Yes, I know, by the looks of it, they're waiting for us to go and be the sacrifices for slaughter. Lin Fan replied. Then, what should we do? Reverend Shakia seemed a little worried now. Bald monk, I'm not going to sham you this time around. Just follow along with my instructions later on. The situation right now was indeed getting cumbersome. If it were him alone, then it wouldn't matter as much. However, the issue was that this bald monk was still following him all the way. If things were to go on as such, the bald monk might even accidentally die in Lin Fan's hands. Even though he was a little annoying here and there, he wasn't bad by nature. And most importantly, he had to learn that purification skill still. Damn, if this bald monk were to die just like that, where was he supposed to go and learn it from? Alright, Reverend Shakia nodded his head. At this moment, he couldn't continue to put on an act. After all, things weren't looking all that good right now. If he failed in his flaunting, he might end up being fodder instead. Even though he did not know how many powerhouses were hidden within the void right now, if he were to continue acting, he might have his shit walloped out of him entirely. Haha, to think that we would be this lucky to gain the treasures here. We're rich now. Not only are there countless of pills, there's even a heaven-revolting skill. Go, hurry up and go. I've got a skill that can break through the void, and with it, we can get out of the secret grounds directly. Suddenly, the voices of Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia rang out from the 5 blood-colored mountains. At the same time, Reverend Shakia was sneakily making his way out to the fringes of the 5 blood-colored mountains. Within his fingers, a bright Buddhist light shone that turned into thin little threads, interlinking the 5 blood-colored mountains together. This was the sealing technique used by the Buddha himself. As the saying went, a single flower was equivalent to a world of its own. Linking these 5 blood-colored mountains together, Reverend Shakia seemed to be forming a small little world of his own. At this moment, the guys hidden in the void could no longer hold themselves back after hearing the voices. To think that they would have managed to find the treasures. Let's go, hurry up and go in. If we let them escape with it, we'll really be making great losses. Alright, in. Instantly, a myriad of light beams streaked out of the void, darting towards the 5 blood-colored mountains. However, some powerful beings still held their ground. There's something odd with this affair. The treasure of the Gleaming Blood Lord isn't something to be obtained this easily. The Gleaming Blood Lord had trodden over the ancient saint world for a long time. He had a violent and odd temperament. There was no way he could ever give anyone benefits originating from him. Once upon a time, there was a legend that the Gleaming Blood Lord had created a lair within the ancient saint world awaiting those with affinity. With that, countless beings of the thousands of races began searching for that lair. Somehow, the location of that lair was leaked out for some unknown reason, leading to an endless amount of beings of the thousands of races gushing forth to snatch the treasures. At the very end, all of those who came forth ended up dead. It was only at the last moment of it all that everyone realized that it was a trap set forth by the Gleaming Blood Lord. He was actually cultivating a skill that required all these beings as a sacrifice. Where have they gone to? What's going on? Could they have left this place already? At this moment, a group of powerful beings that were hidden within the void appeared at the 5 blood-colored mountains. Bald Monk, Ceiling Formation. At this moment, Lin Fan came out of the 5 blood-colored mountains from his stealth mode. Alright, Reverend Shakia's eyebrows twitched as his hands formed a series of Buddha hand seals. Instantly, the entire 5 blood-colored mountains were surrounded by a barrier of Buddhist light, sealing everything within. This is bad. We've been tricked. The moment the powerful beings at the 5 blood-colored mountains sensed this force, they were astonished. Benefactor, what should we do now? Reverend Shakia was getting a little excited now. He felt as though he had just achieved something really big. Some of those powerful beings were even stronger than himself. If he had been targeted by them, he would have been dead meat for sure. Whack the dogs within, of course. Today, yours truly is in a good mood. We'll split this 50-50 then. Lin Fan was exhilarated right now. Shifting his body nimbly, billions of palm strikes were slammed out into the barrier instantly. Every single palm strike turned into a dragon of Bigra, surging straight into the 5 blood-colored mountains. Lin Fan had noticed this from the very beginning. The cultivation states of these guys weren't weak at all. Divine Celestial Level 6. Divine Celestial Level 7. Divine Celestial Level 8. For Lin Fan, this was going to be a huge bang for his buck. Chapter 684. Scammed to Death. Chapter 684. Scammed to Death. To think you would be here too, Demon-Slaying Sword Lord. HMPH. Old Master Raging Winds, if you can be here, why can't I as well? Amidst these 5 blood-colored mountains, a bunch of powerful beings were all glaring at one another. They then swept the surroundings. To think that there would be so many powerful beings within this place that knew one another. In fact, some of them even had blood feuds with the others. Demon-Slaying Sword Lord, prepare to receive death. In order to cultivate that peerless indestructible sword will of yours, you massacred members of my sect while I wasn't around. An old man was flaring up with rage. This was especially the case when he caught sight of Demon-Slaying Sword Lord. The rage in his heart was blazing out of control. Old Master Ruyi, do you think that I would be afraid of you? Demon-Slaying Sword Lord looked over at Old Master Ruyi as his sword will soared intently. It seemed like he could strike out at any moment. Alright, all of you, stop arguing. To think that we would have fallen into a trap. Seems like there's a powerful being of the Buddha race that has attacked us. Using the 5 blood-colored mountains as a basis, he has constructed a small world within this place. If you guys have any grudges among yourselves, you can jolly well settle it after we get out of this place. The person who spoke was an elderly man with 3 heads. The skill cultivated by this man with 3 heads was a mysterious one that could convert a single chi to 3 corpses. Old Master Triple Corpse, to think that you would be able to cultivate that skill of yours to such an incomparable state. I don't suppose that it'll be long before you can transform it to the end, fusing all 8 realms of yours together to reach the eternal God state. The prowess of Old Master Triple Corpse was strong. Even amongst the group of people, he was someone with quite the reputation. As such, the untamed group began to quieten down. At this moment, none of them wanted to offend Old Master Triple Corpse at all. Did you guys catch sight of any ancient race beings? If there are any ancient race beings, we can kill them first. Then, we'll break out of this small world and slaughter those 2 fellas outside. Old Master Triple Corpse commented. The crowd looked around at one another. There are no ancient race beings. N-O-V-E in .c ohm. That's strange. Usually, when there's a situation in the secret grounds, the ancient race beings would normally breach this place brazenly. Why hadn't a single one of them appeared just yet? On the way in just now, I caught sight of those 2 fellas killing 2 ancient race beings. However, the cultivation state of those two ancient race beings was way too weak. They didn't seem like they were here to snatch the treasures. They seemed more like scouts. Alright, since that's the case, we'll just break down this small world then. The being of the Buddha race who had set up this place may be pretty decent in strength. However, I doubt that he can hold out for this long. Alright, ... Benefactor, are we truly not going to get out of this place? This poor monk's little world here isn't going to last for much longer. Reverend Shakia's forehead was dripping with huge beads of sweat as he sensed the berserk energy within the little world of his. It's alright, just let my brother Bigra go have his run. Lin Fan replied indifferently before looking at the void around him. Yours truly is the mother *C King Human King, Lin Fan. It doesn't matter what god, demon, or *T you are, if you dare to act brazenly before yours truly, then you don't have any rights to complain that yours truly isn't going to show you mercy later on. Lin Fan did not know how many more people were still watching this right now. However, he wasn't too bothered about these powerful beings here. Even though the powerful beings within the void were really displeased at what the mother *C King Human King had just said, none of them stood out. When faced with changing tides, it was important to maintain one's composure and stay firm. Lin Fan looked at the innumerable people within the little world that were trying to break it down and grinned. Haha, this little world is already at its breaking point. However, I've got to admit that the skills of the Buddha race are indeed really incredible. This is especially the case for that one flower one world. That is even more mysterious than anything else. However, thankfully, this being of the Buddha race is yet to master that mysterious skill. Otherwise, things would truly be disastrous here. Demon-slaying Sword Lord laughed coldly. He had once fought with a powerful being from the Buddha race. Seeing that one flower one world, he was truly fretting over it. If not for the fact that his peerless indestructible sword will was mastered by then, he might have been truly trapped within for all eternity. Demon-slaying Sword Lord, once we're out of this, I'm definitely challenging you to a death duel. Old Master Ruyi hollered out in rage. Sure, I'm all down for it. At the same time, I'll acquire your essence, spirit, and vitality to use them to cultivate yet another skill. Demon-slaying Sword Lord laughed wildly. This isn't good. Aren't you guys feeling something weird? At this moment, someone suddenly yelped out. He had suddenly realized that a mysterious energy was infiltrating his body. What's weird? The little world is about to break down anyways. Once I'm out, I'll definitely dice those two fellas up into pieces. Old Master Triple Corpse, what are you doing? Why's that hand of yours touching mine? Demon-slaying Sword Lord, what are you trying to do? Don't think that you can come and tease me just because you think that I'm not your match. You be *starred, where do you think you're placing your hands? Old Master Ruyi, you. At this moment, something was going on within the little world. The chi of Bigra had already erupted forth with its might. Under the chi of Bigra, all of the expressions on the faces of these powerful beings were changing. They were blushing red right now, and those hawk-like covetous eyes of theirs were all gaining an insane glint to them now. Each of their eyes were bloodshot, as though their bodies were filled with an infinite amount of energy. Benefactor, what's going on right now? Reverend Shakia knew everything that was happening within his little world at the back of his palms. However, the expression on his face was extremely strange right now. Everything that was happening within the little world was far beyond Reverend Shakia's imagination right now. How could all of these powerful beings be doing something as such? Even though he did not know exactly what was going on, he knew that this must have something to do with Lin Fan. To think that the effects have seeped in this quickly. Alright, take down the little world now. An image as such should be enjoyed with the masses. Lin Fan chuckled out. Amitabha, this little world of this poor monk here is used to suppress and take down enemies within. How can I let something as such happen? Reverend Shakia immediately took down his little world. Placing his palms together, he started chanting prayers in disbelief. What's that being of the Buddha race trying to do? Why did he take down the little world? I've got no idea. However, even if he didn't take it down manually, he wouldn't have been able to hold out for much longer as well. What's going on? Why is demon-slaying Sword Lord pressing down on the body of Old Master Ruyi? This. At this moment, the powerful beings within the void who were catching sight of this scene were utterly stumped at the sight that they were welcome to. They could not believe everything they were witnessing right now. To think that these powerful beings would be committing such unbelievable acts. This was especially the case for that violent demon-slaying Sword Lord. To think that his face would be flooded red as he tore at Old Master Ruyi's clothes. However, they knew that Old Master Ruyi had a deep grudge with demon-slaying Sword Lord. Why did the two of them look so compatible in this situation right now? Bald monk, I've said that we can split them 50 to 50. Here, you can go and reform them now. Lin Fan smiled out. He was long used to this kind of situation by now. However, for Reverend Shakia, it was something beyond his wildest dreams. If he weren't watching this right now, he would have found it extremely hard to believe as well. Looking at the state they're in right now, it's pretty hard for this poor monk to go at them as such. Reverend Shakia turned his head around and said, unable to bear watching the scene directly. Since that's the case, then yours truly is going to have to take them all then. There were so many experience points right here waiting for him. To give the bald monk half of them was a decision that Lin Fan had thought for a long time about. But, since this bald monk didn't want it, Lin Fan could not have asked for anything more. Ah, benefactor, please hold on. As the saying goes, if I don't enter hell, who would? They have committed such inhumane audacities. Even if this poor monk finds it hard to take them in, I've got to do it. The moment Reverend Shakia heard that Lin Fan was going to kill all of them, his heart throbbed. How could he bear to let them go like this? At a moment as such, even if he couldn't do it, he had to. Being able to reform powerful beings like these was something that Reverend Shakia had been hoping for a long time now. You dirty bald monk, Lin Fan knew that this guy clearly wanted it. Yet, he acted as though he didn't. Tisk. Chapter 685, Unable to bear leaving Lin Fan. Chapter 685, Unable to bear leaving Lin Fan. Benefactor, one should not always speak out their insights. Just as Lin Fan was prepared to strike out, Reverend Shakia was staring intently at Lin Fan with a serious look on his face as he said out calmly. Your mother. Indeed, you're a dirty bald monk. You're so dirty that you're even admitting to it yourself now. Lin Fan was entirely helpless in his heart right now. Wow, it didn't even make any sense for this bald monk to live as long as he had by now. To think that he would be this dirty. Goodness, he could almost compete with yours truly already. As the saying went, a scoundrel could find his way around the world. Actually, Lin Fan had really high expectations for this bald monk. As long as he didn't die because of his bragging acts, Lin Fan was sure that this person could almost definitely turn into an accomplished powerful being in the future. In the blink of an eye, Lin Fan swiveled like a dragon. Darting into the clouds, he slammed down with his palm, directing it at the 5 blood-colored mountains where the masses were engaging in an unsightly act. This mighty force caused the void to crumble under its pressure. Those 5 stretched-out fingers of his were akin to a heaven-piercing claw that bore immense power within every single finger. All of these powerful beings who were intoxicated by Bigra were immersed within their own world, losing every bit of sense towards the outside world entirely. Under the force of Lin Fan's massive power, those powerful beings began to explode apart as their bodies turned into a mess of blood and flesh. At the moment of their explosion, countless savage screams lashed out. N-O-V-L-B in .c ohm. Damn it, WHO is it. Just WHO in the world is it. Reincarnation of flesh and blood. This fella's killing us on the sneak. We'll kill him. All of these pieces of flesh and blood possessed an immense amount of power to them, and the very consciousness of their owners. A single thought was enough to have them send out thousands of skills ripping apart everything. So disobedient even at your deaths. Lin Fan wasn't hurried in the least bit. Flipping his hand around, he repressed every single one of those incoming skills. Boom, crackle, crack. As these pieces of flesh and meat were sucked into Lin Fan's paradise, they were refined immediately. Ding. Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 7, all-to-one state Demon Slaying Sword Lord. Ding. Experience points plus 700,000 feet. Ding. Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 7, all-to-one state Old Master Ruyi. Ding. Experience points plus 690,000 feet. Ding. Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 8, Universal Elixir State Old Master Triple Corpse. Ding. Experience points plus 800,000 feet. The notifications from the system were endless as Lin Fan's experience points skyrocketed up. Just like that, dozens of powerful beings were killed by Lin Fan. Hence, the experience points received were akin to a vast ocean. Ding. Congratulations on leveling up. Ding. Cultivation state. Divine Celestial Level 7, all-to-one state. In the blink of an eye, Lin Fan's mind shifted. His paradise vibrated over it. All of the skills that he had ever cultivated shot out instantly and floated in the skies of his paradise. All to one, gather. The so-called divine celestial level 7, all-to-one state was one in which one was able to gather all the skills that he had ever cultivated in his life and fuse them together, evolving from there and evolving once more. Just as Lin Fan was arranging all the skills he had ever learned in his lifetime, the powerful beings in the void were startled. This man is really vicious. To think that he would kill all of them with a single strike. Just what sort of a move is he using? Demon-slaying Sword Lord, Old Master Ruyi and the others all seemed as though they couldn't snap out of it at all. I've got no idea. However, if this guy killed all of them, that must mean that everything they possessed is with him. That's one hell of a fortune right there. This is especially so for Old Master Triple Corpse. His wealth was astounding. So what if it's astounding? We might not be his match at all. This is a fellow with some supreme might right there. We've got to keep our cool. Guys, check it out. That being of the Buddha race over there. He's reforming them. At this moment, Reverend Shakia was elated beyond anything else. He had not expected Lin Fan to be this kind to him, leaving him these many powerful beings to reform. However, it would take some time for him to reform these powerful beings. After all, the inner hearts of these powerful beings were akin to a rock, firm and resolute. Even if he wanted to reform them, it would take him quite a bit of effort. However, the methods of Lin Fan which killed all of them with a single strike was pretty startling for Reverend Shakia. To think that this plain-looking fellow would be this strong. Mu Manfang was looking at Lin Fan in surprise as well. Back when they were outside, he wasn't really bothered with Lin Fan at all. However, by the looks of things now, this guy seemed as though he might even be even stronger than the fella from the Buddha race. Things are going to get sticky this time around. Emperor Nangong's eyes were filled with a look of worry. There were so many powerful beings there. Even with their combined efforts, they might not really get too many benefits out of this. Xing Wangong, Jia Yongye, and Yu Lutian frowned as their minds started going into a whirl. Given the state of things right now, if they wanted to get some treasures out of this, they might have to resort to some other methods. At this moment, Lin Fan opened up both his eyes as they shone with a bright glint. He had grown stronger once more. All to one, right now, all his skills were interlinked and fused with himself. However, the most important thing for him right now were the storage rings of the powerful beings. Even though there were some treasures in there, they were way too inferior for his liking. Though, there were some Shenyang pills that he was coveting right now. Bald monk, you can refine them, but their storage rings shall belong to me. Lin Fan did not wait for the bald monk to reply before he swept the storage rings clean immediately. Not bad. To think that there are 400 million Shenyang pills. Lin Fan arranged the loot and smiled out. However, if he were to split them apart, all of these powerful beings were akin to paupers individually. Coupled with all the treasures he had swept from the previous encounter, there were a total of 600 million Shenyang pills. Highs, seems like the utmost being of the ancient race is still the richest. All of those Shenyang pills could only be counted in trillions. Lin Fan lamented. It was a pity that the utmost being was someone incredibly strong. One could only get lucky once, and that would be all. There wouldn't be a second time for that any longer. 1 chi to 3 corpses. Peerless indestructible sword will. Big tiny wishes. From these powerful beings, a number of skills popped up as well. None of these skills were really weak in terms of their grades. However, they weren't really all that important for Lin Fan. Although, there was one skill that had Lin Fan's interest piqued. Ding, do you wish to learn Big Tiny Wishes? Learn. Big Tiny Wishes. Change one's body. A single thought can enlarge your body to encompass the entire heaven while another thought can turn you into a dust particle. Haha, awesome, this is plain awesome. Reverend Shakia was giving it his all to reform those powerful beings. His face was flushed red right now in exhilaration. Even though Reverend Shakia wasn't all that weak himself, being able to reform powerful beings of this level was something that had never ever crossed his mind. However, Reverend Shakia knew that all of his good luck right now was all thanks to this mother *C King Human King. At this moment, Reverend Shakia's impression of Lin Fan was changing pretty starkly. In fact, he was starting to not mind that swollen chest of his all that much as well. After all, if Lin Fan could revert his chest back to normalcy, Reverend Shakia would have to leave him. But if that were the case, all these affairs of reforming powerful beings would have nothing to do with him in the future any longer. The more he thought, the more Reverend Shakia was hoping that the matter of his chest being reverted to normal would not come so swiftly. Finally feeling good now? Lin Fan asked. Yep, really good. Reverend Shakia nodded his head. Then, can you leave me now? Lin Fan asked again. No can do, nopes. This poor monk's chest has yet to be returned to normal. How can I leave? Instantly, Reverend Shakia shook his head furiously. Gotta be kidding him. Even if his chest returned to normal, he wouldn't want to leave. After following this mother *C King Human King, Reverend Shakia's luck had been improving all the while. How long has it been only, and yet, he was able to reform so many powerful beings. If he were to follow this guy for a couple of years, wouldn't he have it made by then? Gosh, your greed is endless. How could Lin Fan not tell of the thoughts running through Reverend Shakia's mind right now? However, he did not say anything much. Once he was out of this secret ground, he would then think of ways to shrug this guy off. Though, the powerful beings that were hidden in the void right now were causing Lin Fan's heart to palpitate a little. Even if you guys don't mess with yours truly, it doesn't mean yours truly can't mess with you guys instead. Chapter 686, Mass Attack. Chapter 686, Mass Attack. Alright, all of you sightseeing lads, come on out here. Lin Fan stepped forth and struck out an imposing pose. That domineering aura of his penetrated the void as he looked above. These guys had been peeking for half a day now. As the saying went, when the snipe and clam grapples, it's the fisherman that profits. All of these guys thought of themselves as the fishermen. However, what they did not know was that yours truly was a bandit who specialized in robbing fish from fishermen. The void went silent as the powerful beings exchanged glances with one another, wondering what this fellow was up to. Benefactor, what is your purpose of doing this? Reverend Shakia asked with a perplexed look. The powerful beings that he had just reformed were now within his Buddha's land paradise and were praying all day all night. With that, their faith was never ending. For Reverend Shakia, those powerful beings were more than enough. Robbery, Lin Fan replied indifferently as though he was speaking of something real casual right now. However, for Reverend Shakia, it was quite an unexpected thing to hear. Our robbery, them. Reverend Shakia was stunned. Even though the mood right now was pretty high, there was no need for them to get this brazen, right? All of the powerful beings within the void squealed out in shock. They still had no idea what this guy was trying to achieve. Honestly, how could they be bothered by something like this? When some of the powerful beings realized that the 5 blood-colored mountains held no secrets to it, they were already making preparations to leave this place and look for the body of the gleaming blood lord elsewhere. HMPH. Since you guys don't wish to come out, then yours truly shall invite you guys out personally. Seeing how no one was coming out, Lin Fan stretched out his fingers and grabbed out at the void. An explosion sounded as the voids crumbled, causing many powerful beings who were hidden within to be squeezed out of it. What's he trying to do? Mu Manfang frowned, feeling the repressing feeling from the void above him. He retaliated with his body's energy. However, he found out that the force pressing down on him was really strong, that he couldn't fight back at all. Such a strong power. Yu Ludian and the others were looking slightly terrible right now. Their cultivation states weren't weak. But, for them to be forced out of the void just like that by someone else, that had them in some slight disbelief. Insolent, what are you trying to do with this? Floating in the void, a man draped in a set of long white robes barked out. It was the same for the other powerful beings present. All of them were looking at Lin Fan with an irritated reaction. It was as though they were telling him that this issue would come to no end unless he explained his actions. Benefactor, please hold it in. The little heart of Reverend Shakia was thumping furiously right now. This move of Lin Fan had Reverend Shakia so rattled that he no longer knew what to say at all. This was just courting death. If these powerful beings were to gang up on them, there was no way they were getting out of this alive. Bald monk, I'd advise you to leave this place as soon as you can. Yours truly is going to get into a huge clash soon. In order to chase Reverend Shakia away, Lin Fan was giving it his all right now. What for? Reverend Shakia was stumped, not understanding the situation unfolding here. Even if Lin Fan wanted to put on an act, that would have to depend on the situation, wouldn't it? Because yours truly is happy. Now, are you going to leave or not? Lin Fan tossed a side glance at the bald monk. At the same time, he was thinking in his heart. If this guy still didn't want to leave even right now, then yours truly could only concede to this guy. Highs, since you choose to act as such, benefactor, then this poor monk here can only accompany you to the end. At this moment, Reverend Shakia's look was all serious, as though he had just made a resolution to stick with Lin Fan through thick and thin. At this moment, Lin Fan was truly at a loss for words. This bloody *T wasn't afraid of something like this. Master, what does your friend mean by this? Mu Manfang looked over at Reverend Shakia with an unfriendly and frosty tone. Mu Manfang wasn't some sort of a merciful and compassionate person. Anyone who could live their lives up to such a cultivation state was someone who had killed and slashed their way up. What do you mean? I'm here to rob the sh*t out of you guys today, duh. Why, are you unhappy about that? Don't you agree with me, bald monk? Lin Fan blared out. Looking at the situation before him right now, Reverend Shakia's heart gave a momentary jerk. Bloody hell, this fellow was causing the situation to get real deadly. However, what else could he say at this moment? This benefactor was being way too audacious. If he were to get the entire crowd riled up, it'd be impossible to avoid this battle at all. That's right, helpless as he was, Reverend Shakia had no choice but to nod his head and agree with it eventually. Did you guys hear that? Alright, all you bunch of scums. You had better take out all your treasures and belongings. Otherwise, Reverend Shakia here is going to reform you guys. Lin Fan pointed over to Reverend Shakia and yelled out, "No vel be in .c om." The moment these words came out of his mouth, the expressions of the powerful beings in the void changed. To think that he's the genius of the Buddha race, Reverend Shakia. Mu Manfang had not expected this master here to be Reverend Shakia, that unusual being from the Buddha race. However, there was something that was causing Mu Manfang to be curious right now. Just who in the world was this other man then? HMPH, Reverend Shakia, aren't the both of you getting a little overboard? Do you guys think that you can suppress us with just you two alone? Yu Ludian scoffed out icily as his eyes shone with anger. This poor monk. Right now, Reverend Shakia could not explain his predicament at all. His heart was akin to that of a bright lamp shining through darkness. How could he not know of Lin Fan's intentions at all? However, there were truly many benefits to gain by following him. Reverend Shakia could not bear to leave him. Furthermore, his chest hadn't reverted yet. Right now, with so many powerful beings around, Reverend Shakia was in a dilemma as well. If they were to truly fight it out, the only thing he could do was to run. What can you do even if I want to suppress you? Lin Fan took a step forth suddenly and unleashed tiny big wishes. Instantly, he sent a gigantic palm that grabbed out at Yu Ludian. Insolent, Yu Ludian roared out. In a flash, his body shifted and formed a typhoon before him. This typhoon seemed to possess all sorts of killing intent within it. That gigantic palm of Lin Fan brought forth with it an extremely formidable force to it. Even though Yu Ludian's strength was decent, it was nowhere comparable to Lin Fan's. Lin Fan pinched the entire typhoon within his hands. Not good. To think that that fellow would possess such a strong power. Yu Ludian broke out in cold sweat from head to toe. To think that this fellow with an unknown background would be so tough to deal with. Jade God's heavenly technique. Losing to that beast, Mu Manfang, had already caused Yu Ludian to feel really resentful in his heart. If he now lost to this unknown fella as well, that was something that Yu Ludian wouldn't be able to tolerate at all. Instantly, a long streak of light appeared as Yu Ludian slapped away Lin Fan's gigantic hand. 3 streams of white air gushed out from the back of Yu Ludian, piercing the sky instantly. From there, a boundless might erupted forth violently. Seems like that fella was still holding something back when he was fighting me. The moment Mu Manfang caught sight of this, he focused up a little. However, all of a sudden, he realized that there was a sharp sword will shooting out from the void targeting him. You little thief, how dare you strike at us? Everyone, head up together. Once we kill him, we'll split his fortune up. At this moment, Yu Ludian wasn't the only one targeted by Lin Fan. When Lin Fan struck out, the sky was filled with sword wills that burst out at all the powerful beings present instantly. Catching sight of everything before him, Lin Fan grinned. His body disappeared in a flash as he bolted out into the distance. Come at yours truly if you guys have the guts. There was only a single thought in Lin Fan's mind right now, run. Now that he had riled everyone up into a big fight, if that bald monk wanted to continue following him, that would depend on whether he had the abilities to do so. Thief, stop running. All the powerful beings were green with rage right now. Without caring about anything else, they each delved into the void and chased behind Lin Fan. Benefactor, you. Reverend Shakia seemed as though he was dumbstruck right now. Looking at Lin Fan who dove headfirst into the void, it took him a while to snap out of it. Suddenly, he came to his senses. Benefactor, wait up. Chapter 687, nearly ran away. Chapter 687, nearly ran away. Reverend Shakia was hating himself in his heart. What the hell did he froze up for earlier on? Now that he had finally snapped back to his senses, it was all too late. Lin Fan had long disappeared to God knows where. He could only hope that he would still be able to catch up eventually. Reverend Shakia, please hold up. Mu Manfang blocked Reverend Shakia in his way. Benefactor, this poor monk here has something to do. Please make way for me. Even though Reverend Shakia was extremely impatient right now, his attitude towards Mu Manfang was still kind and benevolent. Even though there were so many powerful beings who were chasing after Lin Fan right now, Mu Manfang on the other hand did not join them and was waiting for Reverend Shakia instead. Of course, I can make way for you. However, Reverend Shakia, I heard that the skill of purification possessed by you is pretty miraculous. I wonder if Reverend Shakia could resign yourself to part with that treasure of yours. I will be eternally grateful for it. Even though Mu Manfang possessed the heritage of the great sovereign Buddha, there was a skill lacking within it, the skill of purification. If he could learn this purification technique, he could reform and cleanse the living beings in the world and have them provide faith for him. At that time, Mu Manfang's great sovereign Buddha techniques would definitely be able to reach a new level. The moment Reverend Shakia heard these words, his eyes shone with a glimmer. Placing his hands together, he continued, Benefactor, the skill of purification is one that is exclusive to the Buddha race alone. I'm afraid that I would have to disappoint this benefactor. Do make way for me, benefactor. This poor monk has something he must do. Everyone says that pray and you shall receive. To think that Reverend Shakia would reject me outright. Seems like your cultivation isn't quite there yet, Reverend Shakia. Since that's the case, I'm afraid I'll have to squeeze it out of you myself then. Mu Manfang had planned for this from the start. While it might be true that Lin Fan did provoke him, he knew that he would gain nothing out of killing him. He might as well hold back Reverend Shakia and try to learn his skill of purification instead. Even if Reverend Shakia refused him, Mu Manfang had intended to suppress Reverend Shakia forcefully. Using a soul-searching technique, he would then seek out the skill of purification himself. Even though Reverend Shakia was strong, Mu Manfang wasn't fearful in the least bit. Benefactor, you must be possessed. Reverend Shakia was enraged momentarily as the angered Buddha within his heart rose. If he were to continue dragging on with this, he would truly be dead meat once Lin Fan escaped far away. If he wanted to find him once more, it would be extremely difficult by then. Seeing this Mu Manfang being so obstinate, Reverend Shakia was feeling exasperated. He looked pretty amicable on first glance, but to think that he would be this vicious. Angered Buddha, Master, you do have a deep affinity with Buddhism. How about you take a look at my greedy Buddha then? Mu Manfang sniggered out sinisterly. Instantly, a bright streak of golden light shone out and spread across the world, overpowering even that of Reverend Shakia's. Highs. Reverend Shakia sighed out. He did not wish to say anything any longer as he slammed a fist out towards Mu Manfang to suppress it. Given the situation right now, the chance of me making my escape has risen quite a fair bit. As Lin Fan was streaking his way across the sky, he made sure to check back from time to time as well. All of those powerful beings were in hot pursuit like rabid dogs. Little bald monk, yours truly is going to make his escape now. If you can still hunt me down, yours truly is going to eat sh*t. Lin Fan gloated in his heart. He wasn't bothered in the least bit about these guys chasing behind him. If he wanted to take them down, it would be relatively simple. However, in order to not cause any unnecessary commotion, Lin Fan decided not to strike back. All he wanted to do was escape. Little degenerate, you had better stop there. Even if I'm going to hunt you down to the end of the world, I'm going to kill you. Damned sh*t. How dare you provoke us? Courting death. Yu Ludian and the others bellowed. They had intentions of killing Lin Fan. This was especially the case given how short-tempered Yu Ludian was. Before he had even entered the secret grounds, he was already filled with rage from the incidents prior. And, to think that he would meet with this provocation of Lin Fan. This was just the avenue for him to release all that pent-up frustration of his. HMPH. A bunch of dumb *CKS. If not for the fact that I'm trying to avoid that bald monk, I'd have long killed all of you. Lin Fan's figure flashed nimbly. Instantly, he activated his stealth to its maximum and deployed so near, yet so far, running 100 miles out. Within the void, Lin Fan was like a fish that had found water. His mighty body went against those void currents with ease. These void's currents that posed a threat to everyone and ripped everything in their way could not deal a single bit of damage to Lin Fan at all. That little degenerate is bloody good at running. His movement skills are indeed pretty slick. We must definitely kill him and obtain his skills. That's right. The wealth within the storage rings of Old Master Triple Corpse and the others must definitely be frightening. Even if we don't get anything within this secret ground, this trip wouldn't be a wasted one if we could obtain all those items within that little B*****''s possessions right now. At this moment, Lin Fan was a moving treasure chest for all of them. Everyone wanted him dead. Bloody hell, all of them are acting like rabid dogs. The distance between Lin Fan and these powerful beings was getting wider. Before long, he would be able to make it out of this place completely. His second essence spirit had already managed to suppress the connate element of wood. Even though the connate element of wood was strong, it was something that Lin Fan could take down with a single raise of his hands. What's up with this sh*t before me? Just at this moment, Lin Fan's brows creased. Far in the distance ahead, a sea of blood was rumbling, looking extremely strange. The clouds in that area were all stained with the same blood-red color. In fact, the affected area was spreading out rapidly. Before he knew it, the entire patch of redness extended out above Lin Fan's head in the sky. Guys, look, what is that? The powerful beings who were chasing after Lin Fan had noticed this weird phenomenon in the sky as well. However, they did not know what was going on at all. There's something strange going on up ahead. It must be the birth of some sort of treasure. Could it be the treasure of the gleaming blood lord? Just what in the world are these? Lin Fan frowned. He had a bad feeling about this. Raising his head, the only thing he could see was blood red. It was as though his entire body was lying within an ocean of blood right now. There must be a demon in every single strange place there is. Lin Fan wanted to get out of this place as soon as possible. After all, everything was truly way too sinister. However, at this very moment, those weird-looking blood-red clouds started shining with a series of bright gleams, having mysterious runic symbols within them. Shing! The void vibrated out as a tremendous force gushed out from all directions. Lin Fan was instantly pushed down from the void. Such a strong power. Lin Fan's heart jerked momentarily. This was an irresistible power. Even if he were a divine celestial level 8, universal elixir state being right now, he would not even have the power to resist being pushed down from the void like now. This is a ceiling power. Lin Fan suddenly realized that the powers churning within his body were gradually slowing down. In fact, the passage of time seemed to be stalling within this place as well. FCK. This fella isn't even revealing himself fully. Lin Fan stopped his footsteps. Hurling out the Doomsday Calamity God Fist, a figure of a skill spirit carrying with it a typhoon of disastrous calamity slammed forward into the void. However, the moment it made contact with that sea of blood, it drowned within, as though it had just dropped into quicksand. In fact, there weren't even any ripples about it. Mother *C King Human King, Lin Fan, just that sort of a cultivation state is enough for you to cause cruel such troubles. Indeed, that guy is just all talk and no show. A loud voice boomed out from all directions. Who is it? Lin Fan's face changed. He had clearly heard the name cruel within those words. Could this be someone sent by the utmost being of the ancient race? At this moment, all the other powerful beings looked at their surroundings warily as well. They could sense a formidable surge of power filling up this entire world. Instantly, a figure appeared before everyone in the far reaches of the sky. That figure was shrouded in a black mist that was slowly gathering and culminating into a true body. The moment the true body was fully formed, the entire world descended into a blood-red state. Chapter 688, Gleaming Blood Lord. Chapter 688, Gleaming Blood Lord. FCK, yours truly has maintained such a low profile recently and yet someone is still hunting after me. This doesn't make any sense at all. Lin Fan was pretty exasperated right now. By the sounds of it, this person seems to be here for him. HMPH. What sort of a person is this who dares to seek trouble with your mother *C King here? Can't you see all the underlings behind yours truly right now? All of their cultivation states are heaven revolting. If you dare to act so insolently here, your mother *C King shall have them bust your anus. Lin Fan tossed back his robes and set out domineeringly. However, within his heart, he was busy trying to think of how he should get out of this. Given the state things were in right now, anyone could tell that this was probably going to be quite troublesome. Before him stood a boss while behind him stood a bunch of elite buggers. This was truly a situation he had yet to come across thus far. Divine Celestial Level 9, 8 Desolates United State. This cultivation state should be manageable, I suppose. Lin Fan looked at the figure before him and started thinking real hard. Divine Celestial Level 9 State. This was just in between, neither high nor too low of a cultivation state. Based on his current strength, he should be able to give the other guy a run for his money. However, there was some really strange feeling that Lin Fan was getting from his aura. He could sense that something wasn't right. Just these trashes. I can easily take them down with the back of my palms. That figure was wearing a mask that was fully red and covered everything except his eyes. Everything else was filled with runic symbols cramped together. The moment this figure heard the words of Lin Fan, he replied with disdain. The moment all of those powerful figures who were chasing after Lin Fan heard those words, they were the ones whose expressions turned extremely terrible. Who are you? How dare you refer to us as trashes? You're just courting death. HMPH. There's so many of us around today. Even if you've got some godlike capabilities, you're not going to be able to run away. Which of these powerful beings weren't individuals who were high and mighty? Now that they were referred to as trashes, how could any of them endure this at all? That's right. This is simply intolerable. How dare this masked man refer to you guys as trashes? Even I am getting a little pissed listening to that. Lin Fan said, adding oil to the fire. Based on my opinion, we should all head up and kill that fella. Lin Fan had not expected for this masked man to appear before him. Furthermore, this guy gave him a really ominous feeling. Even if they were to all rush at him together, they might not be his match at all. With a wolf up ahead and dogs behind him, if the dogs and wolf were to work together, he'd be the one in a bad state. HMPH. You shut up. You want to make use of us as your bullets. You've got to be looking down on us. That's right. Today, both of you must die. ... Looking at how these powerful beings were shouting out one after another, Lin Fan was helpless in his heart as well. To think that his little secret would be exposed. That was pretty hurtful, man. All of you guys are wrong. This masked man here is someone sent by the utmost being of the ancient race, Cruel. If you guys don't join forces, do you think you can get out of this place alive? Lin Fan asked. What? Someone sent by the utmost being of the ancient race? The moment all the powerful beings heard these words, their spirits were rattled. Evidently, they were in some disbelief over the fact. For all of these powerful beings, the ancient race was a really sensitive topic to talk about. This was even more so for the utmost being of the ancient race. That name was akin to a gigantic mountain pressing down on their hearts. The masked man stood there motionless. For him, these guys were nothing more than mere ants before him. All of a sudden, he raised a single finger. With that, a bright beam of red light burst out, followed by a tragic scream. Arg hhhhhhhhh. Within the group of powerful beings, one of them suddenly ballooned up before exploding into pieces of flesh. Darn it, the pieces of flesh rumbled around furiously, trying to regroup into a new body. However, a massive surge of energy gushed down from the heaven all of a sudden, mincing those pieces of meat into nothingness. All of you shall die. The voice of the masked man was frosty beyond anything else. These so-called powerful beings were not a threat to him in the slightest bit. FCK, how long more are you guys going to continue watching for? The other party has already started making his move to kill you guys. If you guys hesitate any longer, you might be the ones left dead. Seeing that scene, even Lin Fan's heart could not help but feel slightly rattled. To think that this masked man would be this FCKED up. Killing them over a single sentence he disagreed with. That was even more overbearing than yours truly. Before yours truly killed anyone, he would still at least bother to sprout some crap with them. But this guy here just threw out a finger, bringing with it absolute force to crush them into bits. This was absolute oppression through pure power. How frightening was this? Lin Fan did not wish to strike out right now. All he wanted to do was to get out of this place. He was truly afraid of that bald monk, who was one hell of an annoyance. He had finally gotten this chance to run out this far. Naturally, he would make sure to escape as far as he could possibly get. Everyone, strike together. The powerful beings were tensed up right now. However, their sights were focused as they bolted up at the masked man together. HMPH. What a bunch of ants. The masked man snorted coldly. A gigantic blood-red palm descended from the sky. Bringing with it a devastating amount of power, it swept across the battlefield and suppressed everyone. Ah, that's the Blood Demon's mega palm of the Gleaming Blood Lord. He is the Gleaming Blood Lord. The Gleaming Blood Lord isn't dead. Everyone, run. At this moment, some of the powerful beings were familiar with who the Gleaming Blood Lord was. The moment they caught sight of the bloodied palm, they started exclaiming out in shock. Wherever that huge blood-red arm passed, everything would wither and die. As the fingers of the palm started pulling, everyone could feel as though the essence, spirit, and vitality within their bodies were getting sucked dry. Legends had it that the Gleaming Blood Lord was a powerful being formed from a pool of blood that had cultivated itself to the Tao. It could devour all the essence, spirit, and vitality of the word, strengthening itself in the process. However, 1,000 years ago, the Gleaming Blood Lord was surrounded and ganged upon by a group of powerful beings from the thousands of races and severely injured. Even though he had managed to escape successfully, his essence spirit was on the brink of dissipating through the grave injuries. For all of the beings of the thousands of races, the Gleaming Blood Lord was a truly heaven-defying, powerful being. For most people who bumped into him, the only outcome was none other than death. Senior Gleaming Blood Lord, please spare my life. Arg hhhhhhhhh. A powerful being cried out, seeking for mercy. However, in the blink of an eye, he was splattered by the palm and turned into a pool of blood. Run, everyone, hurry up and run. All of the powerful beings were stumped right now, screaming out in their hearts. This deep rising fear was surging its way into their hearts right now. The repressing feeling of the fear was so intense that they were suffocating from it. The might of the Gleaming Blood Lord was unparalleled. Even after 1,000 years, it was still a shadow that lurked in the darkness of these powerful beings' memories. I am the genius of the Jade God sect. Gleaming Blood Lord, you can't kill me. Yu Ludian screamed out in fear. Ah, in the blink of an eye, Yu Ludian was disintegrated into nothingness. Xing Wenggong and Jia Yongye were horrifically pale right now as well. To think that they would meet such a supremely powerful being within this secret ground. Run, hurry up and run, we're definitely no match for this Gleaming Blood Lord. Xing Wenggong and Jia Yongye were horrified right now. There was no room for them to even think about anything else as they darted out into the distant skies. November LBJNN. However, just as the both of them were about to run, a gigantic banner of blood gushed down from the sky, encompassing both of them. Ah, I can't accept this. The both of them struggled within the red-colored banner. However, it only tightened up continuously. With a crack, fresh drops of blood dripped out of this red banner. By the time the banner opened up once more, the only thing that dropped out of it were two sets of corpses. In that instant, the essence, spirit, vitality, flesh, and blood of Xing Wenggong and Jia Yongye were consumed by the Gleaming Blood Lord. Such a cruel skill. Witnessing this sight, Lin Fan could not help but freeze up for a little. Chapter 689, Running Faster Than a Rabbit. Chapter 689, Running Faster Than a Rabbit. Lin Fan watched every single cruel method of the Gleaming Blood Lord carefully. He knew that out of all the demons he had encountered thus far, the Gleaming Blood Lord was the most vicious entity out there. He was a powerful being that had existed 1,000 years ago. Now that 1,000 years had passed, how much firmer and stronger would his foundation be? Out of all the powerful beings from earlier on, there were no lack of divine celestial level 8, universal elixir state beings. However, before the palm of this Gleaming Blood Lord, all of them were squashed like ants. Amongst the powerful beings of divine celestial level 8, universal elixir state, Grand Master Yun of the Cloud sect could be considered the strongest of them all. However, not even he might be able to withstand this palm strike from the Gleaming Blood Lord. This is certainly going to be troublesome now. At that moment, Lin Fan felt his spirits being rattled. The pair of eyes beneath that mask of the Gleaming Blood Lord were fixated on him, akin to a gigantic, rumbling ocean of blood. And, within that ocean of blood lied the tormented souls of countless powerful beings who were screaming out at the top of their lungs. Gleaming Blood Lord, yours truly isn't feeling all that comfortable today. How about we delay this battle of ours for another day? Lin Fan did not feel like going up against a twisted FCK as such. The Gleaming Blood Lord was a divine celestial level 9, 8 desolates united state being. Every single move of his would encompass energy from all the 8 desolates. This was no ordinary being to deal with. Mother *C King Human King, your meddling with affairs here has become cumbersome, and is interrupting with the plans of my master. Die. An ominous glow flashed out. Clearly, the Gleaming Blood Lord did not want to say anything much anymore. 2 beams of red light shot out of his eyes like sharp blades. Holy FCK, Gleaming Blood Lord, don't you go overboard now. If yours truly were to get serious, even yours truly would be afraid of myself. It was in Lin Fan's character to get into a fight if he were displeased with something. But damn it, this Gleaming Blood Lord was even more overbearing than him. This was pretty intolerable. Lin Fan's body flashed as countless erupted forth. A single palm could encompass the heavens while another could quake the ground. Ever since he had entered the all-to-one state, any skills could move freely at the back of his hands without any loopholes in them. Gleaming Blood-slaying sword, the Gleaming Blood Lord pointed out with his finger, as a single drop of fresh blood burst out. Instantly, it transformed into a blood-red long sword. That single sword brought with it the ghastly cries of spirits and gods as the skies were filled with the ocean of blood. The entire world was sliced into two with that sword. Good sword. Alright, yours truly shall have a go with you today then. Lin Fan knew that there was no way out of this. Instantly, the 9 sword wills of the firmament sword fused together as they converged into a spot of light on Lin Fan's fingertips. The utmost Tao of the sword that possesses everything in the world. The 9 sword wills brought with it everything within this world. At the same time, it possessed all the enlightenment that Lin Fan had received along his way. That single sword that slashed out shone with a radiant light in all directions. Boom! A loud explosion rang out. Lin Fan stumbled back dozens of miles as a deep wound was cut on Lin Fan's chest by the gleaming blood lord's sword. On the wound, the gleaming blood rumbled as the sharp blood tore its way into Lin Fan's body. So strong. This is a pure oppression with brute force. Even though my cultivation state is only that of a divine celestial level 7, the powers within my body are extremely dense, and I'm able to go against someone of divine celestial level 9 for sure. But, to think that I would take in such disadvantages under the hands of the gleaming blood lord. Just how strong is this guy? Other than the 8 utmost beings of the ancient race, Lin Fan had never really been bothered with any other beings of the thousands of races. However, to think that this gleaming blood lord before him could cause him such substantial damage. With that, Lin Fan could not help but get more serious. The fact that he could kill enemies that were higher level than him did not mean that there wasn't anyone from the thousands of races who couldn't do so as well. The Fire-Water Emperor who could suppress an utmost being of the ancient race was a savant genius. Considering that, this gleaming blood lord must definitely be one of them as well. His cultivation state was strong, with a deep foundation to it. There was no way to tell the depth of his powers at all. Mother *C King Human King, you're strong indeed. However, in my eyes, you're no different than a dead dog. The utmost being, Cruel, is simply way too weak. To think that he would have to run in circles because of you, and even have a single essence spirit of his fall because of it. The gleaming blood lord spoke up in a cold tone. What crap are you spouting? Even if yours truly is a dead dog, I'll ensure that you will die in the hands of this dead dog then. Lin Fan bellowed out as a 100,000 feet long colossal dragon burst forth from his body. The dragon's roar was explosive, as the manifested colossal dragon growled out relentlessly. The heavenly dragon's music churned out into the world as this irresistible tune permeated the void. HMPH, heavenly dragon's music, know your place. The gleaming blood lord laughed out icily. Instantly, a shrill, sharp noise burst forth from his mouth. Bam! The 100,000 feet long colossal dragon exploded into pieces and was sent back into Lin Fan's paradise. Flying heavens! Lin Fan's motions were akin to that of a dragon's. With the power of his paradise boosting him, Lin Fan's powers were as vast as the seas, as they slammed out towards the gleaming blood lord. Pishu! Flying heavens tore through the void and swiveled within it. Instantly, it appeared behind the gleaming blood lord and aimed at penetrating his body. Clang! A gigantic blood-red arm suddenly appeared and grabbed flying heavens within it. HMPH! A mere Tao weapon and you dare to use it so impertinently before me? You're truly courting death. The gleaming blood lord scoffed coldly. Not good. Lin Fan had not expected this gleaming blood lord to be this tricky to deal with. To think that even flying heavens which was hidden in the void would be discovered by him. In fact, the thing that was giving Lin Fan a bad feeling about this was the fact that both weapon spirits within flying heavens were being attacked by that boundless power of the gleaming blood lord right now. Shenyang pills, burn. Lin Fan did not hesitate at all as he burned up 200 million Shenyang pills right away. Even though it was a sizable fortune, burning it right now would be enough for flying heavens to go wild. The gleaming blood lord frowned slightly as he realized the flying heavens was rotating faster in his hand. Suddenly, a tremendous amount of power burst forth from it. Bam! The palm of the gleaming blood lord burst into pieces with that as flying heavens seized the opportunity to run away. HMPH! To think that you would burn Shenyang pills. Seems like you've got some capabilities then. The gleaming blood lord snorted coldly as that exploded palm of his began to regenerate. Yours truly has all sorts of capabilities to me. You're dead for sure. Lin Fan tensed up. This was the first time he was coming face to face with a truly powerful being. Even though this gleaming blood lord was only at the divine celestial level 9, 8 desolates United State, his powers were definitely comparable to that of a divine celestial level 10, eternal god state being. Amitabha, benefactor, this poor monk has finally found you. Why are you being sealed up by this blood sea here? At this moment, a small little gap was breached through the entire ocean of blood that was sealing up the entire place. Reverend Shakia shone with a bright Buddha light, as though the land of bliss itself had appeared personally. Bald monk, this is the gleaming blood lord here. Bloody hell, run away. Lin Fan had not expected this bloody bald monk to really catch up with him here. Buddha race. The moment the gleaming blood lord caught sight of who it was that had arrived, his eyes shone with an ominous glint. It was as though he possessed an endless amount of hatred towards the Buddha race. What? Gleaming blood lord? Reverend Shakia was not up to speed with the current events just yet. However, the moment he heard the words of Lin Fan, he was petrified, as that benevolent and compassionate face of his turned a little pale. Benefactor, this poor monk is going to take his leave now. Gleaming blood lord, you guys carry on. Without waiting, Reverend Shakia fled off instantly. In the blink of an eye, he was nowhere to be seen. Holy FCK, Lin Fan was stunned at what had just happened. This FCKER ran way too fast, didn't he? Even when they were walking usually, he was just taking his own sweet time. To think that he would be scared shitless just by the name of this gleaming blood lord. Go to hell. The unparalleled might of the gleaming blood lord exuded forth once more as he targeted Lin Fan again. FCK, we don't know who's dead for sure just yet. Lin Fan gave up every other thought in his mind and focused every single last bit of his attention into fighting with this gleaming blood lord. Reverend Shakia was sprinting the entire way as that little heart of his thumped furiously. To think that the gleaming blood lord isn't dead. How could this be? Reverend Shakia could not believe everything he had just witnessed. 1,000 years was a long time before he was even born. However, he did read through the records after that. The gleaming blood lord was a demon who was never supposed to be born. Back in the past, it took 3 powerful beings from the Buddha race to kill the gleaming blood lord. At the end of it, the gleaming blood lord had still managed to kill one of them in reverse. This was a huge calamity for the beings of the Buddha race. Those 3 powerful Buddhas were all tremendous pillars of support for the Buddha race. Losing even one of them was an immense loss for the entire race. Benefactor Lin is dead for sure. This time around, he's surely going to be killed. Reverend Shakia was thinking about it while he was making his escape. What should this poor monk do? Reverend Shakia was in a dilemma right now, wondering what the best course of action was. Meeting such a powerful demon was undoubtedly a dead end for anyone. It didn't matter how many people there were fighting against him. Reverend Shakia came to a stop and looked over at that ocean of blood right there. Eventually, he clenched his teeth and blurted out, FCK it. If I'm going to die, then so be it. Damn. Chapter 690, Bald Monk, just speak the truth. Chapter 690, Bald Monk, just speak the truth. Thud, a flash of red light pierced through the world as though an infinite number of swords had slashed through. Drip. Ah, that hurts. Dang it. At this moment, fresh blood was dripping from Lin Fan's body. His entire body was filled with wounds all over it. Even if his physical body state was that of a divine celestial level 8, universal elixir state being right now, he could not defend against the brutal attacks of the gleaming blood lord. Ding. Eternal God body experience points plus 20,000 feet. Holy FCK. What's the use of gaining experience points right now? Yours truly is not going to be able to hold out for much longer. The mythical parasol tree was transfusing a large amount of life force to repair Lin Fan's body. However, the attacks of the gleaming blood lord were way too sharp. Even if it were any normal divine celestial level 9, 8 desolates United State powerful beings, they might not be able to take down this incomparably tough body of his. However, before this gleaming blood lord, the physical body state that he was so proud of was getting shredded like a piece of paper. Are you on crack or something? You're obviously just a divine celestial level 9, 8 desolates United State being. How is it that the power sent forth from you is so damn strong? Lin Fan was helpless right now. He even had the slightest intention of committing suicide. This was one hell of AFCK fest for Lin Fan. How in the world did he meet such a powerful opponent? Spirit of Bigra, are you bloody done with your preparations yet or not? Lin Fan looked within his paradise impatiently at that spirit of Bigra, which was preparing himself. Yes, I'm done. Allow me, the spirit of Bigra, to truly strut my stuff today. The spirit of Bigra nodded his head solemnly. Gleaming blood lord, prepare to thoroughly enjoy the strongest move that yours truly have. Lin Fan bellowed out, slapping out with his palm. The spirit of Bigra yelled out as well. HMPH. The gleaming blood lord snorted coldly as his robes danced in the air. A mighty aura emanated out from it, plunging straight towards the spirit of Bigra. Bam! The spirit of Bigra exploded into a thick, dense mist. Lin Fan was waiting with bated breath right now, wondering if the spirit of Bigra would succeed. Gleaming Blood Lord, later on, yours truly will let you experience what it's like to FCK the ground. You'll definitely feel pleasure beyond anything else. Lin Fan held both hands together, starting to gain some control over the pace of the battle now. The spirit of Bigra was Lin Fan's ace up his sleeves. Against any powerful being he faced, Lin Fan would always be sure to go a few rounds with them first. Once he was certain that he couldn't win against them, he would then let the spirit of Bigra into the battlefield to clean up the mess. As for the outcome later on, Lin Fan was already expecting it. This Gleaming Blood Lord would be sure to get into a frenzy and give in to his lust before getting all berserk and raged up. And of course, to ensure that the Gleaming Blood Lord wouldn't end up coming over to FCK him, Lin Fan made sure to enter stealth mode. If the enraged Gleaming Blood Lord ended up FCking him, it would be an utterly unbearable sight for sure. Lin Fan was waiting patiently in a relaxed manner. However, all of a sudden, he saw the spirit of Bigra scrambling all the way back. Master, this guy is way too twisted. His inner heart is all filled with lust and desire. Even his second essence spirit was masturbating. When I entered his paradise, I was nearly caught by that second essence spirit of his and was so close to losing this pure body of mine. The spirit of Bigra bawled out in tears. For the spirit of Bigra, this was a humiliating experience, a shame that he had never once experienced before. Huh, Lin Fan's jaws dropped agape. That FC King works too. HMPH, here I was thinking what sort of a move that will be. To think that it's just something that will tug at my desires. I am the most tainted blood within this entire world. You honestly think that someone like you can manage to control me with my lust? The eyes of the Gleaming Blood Lord shone with mockery before he burst out laughing wildly. Mother *** C King Human King Lin Fan, your death sentence is here. Your essence spirit there, I shall thoroughly savor it. The hands of the Gleaming Blood Lord opened wide as an ocean of blood that encompassed the entire sky gushed over, emanating a strong bloody stench from it. In fact, there were even countless baleful spirits that were howling out within it. Holy FCK, **T has truly hit the fan this time around. To think that I would meet with AFC King Gay Boy. Lin Fan was so frightened that his face had gone pale in shock. Gleaming Blood Lord, the tides are ever changing. You had bloody FC King wait for me. Right now, there was only a single way out. In order to not let himself be FCKED to death by this gay boy, Lin Fan could only enter the heaven and earth smelt before cultivating for a long time within it. Once he had his physical body state trained to its highest peak, he would then come out and FCK this Gleaming Blood Lord up. Haha, how dare you remain so brazen at death's door? Go to hell. The might of the Gleaming Blood Lord was unparalleled. Even though he was only a divine celestial level 9 right now, the foundation for his powers were so deep that there was no measure for it. Even the utmost being, Cruel, would be given a run for his money. After all, the utmost being, Cruel, was the weakest existence amongst the 8 utmost beings. Bloody hell, this is really one hell of AFCK fest. Lin Fan was always playing on the edges and taking huge risks. However, to think that the stakes would be this high this time around. This was something that Lin Fan hadn't considered at all. Boom, benefactor, this poor monk is here to save you. At that moment, a Buddhist chant suddenly rang out as the sky was filled with golden Buddhist scriptures. A series of gigantic Buddha palms slammed out at the ocean of blood. Bald monk, didn't you run off? Why are you back here again? Lin Fan turned around only to see Reverend Shakia, who had appeared from God knew where. Benefactor, if I don't enter hell, who? Reverend Shakia's face turned solemn as he replied with a serious look. All right, that'll do. Tell me the truth. Lin Fan couldn't bring himself to believe even half a word of this bald monk. However, the sheer fact that this bald monk has come forth to render assistance disregarding the dangers was something that had Lin Fan pretty touched. To think that someone would actually step forth for him in the face of such immense dangers in this inhumane and savage ancient saint world. Lin Fan even had an urge to bestow his body to this person with marriage as a gift. Benefactor, this poor monk is a being of the Buddha race. My heart lies with cleansing the world. Now that there's a demon wreaking havoc, even if I know that I cannot defeat him, this poor monk can't just stand idly by. Bald monk, enough, please. Please speak the truth. Who knows if the both of us might just die later on. At least let me die with a peace of mind. Lin Fan was resisting the urge to hang this bald monk and whack instead now. If it were any other person, they might have found themselves hoodwinked by the words of this bald monk. But, what sort of a person was Lin Fan? He had long seen through this bald monk's tricks. Benefactor, you, Highs, forget it. Reverend Shakia was hurt right now. To think that this benefactor before him would read him like an open book. He wouldn't even give him a single chance to put on a show at all. Yes, just speak the truth. Lin Fan replied seriously. Reverend Shakia looked at Lin Fan and those bright eyes of his blinked. Benefactor, there's something I do not know if I'm allowed to say. Speak, Lin Fan replied. Benefactor, if you were to die, what would happen to this chest of this poor monk? This poor monk is someone who has to turn into a Buddha. How can I have this body of a sinner? Reverend Shakia was pained beyond words right now. If not for the fact that you've caused my body to be in this state, this poor monk wouldn't have returned for you. Bald monk, you're courting death. The gleaming blood lord hollered out as his face looked ever more venomous right now. The skills of the Buddha race were his biggest nemesis. They were skills that could neutralize that tainted chi. Benefactor gleaming blood, do refer to this bald monk here as Reverend Shakia. Otherwise, I'm going to get angry. Reverend Shakia reprimanded with a stern tone. Bald monk, how should we FCK him up? Lin Fan patted Reverend Shakia's shoulders. Benefactor, what do you think? Reverend Shakia reversed the question. You'll take the front, I'll take the back. Let's split up the work. Lin Fan replied after contemplating for a moment. All right, this poor monk shall put in immense effort to work together with you today, benefactor. If we can get rid of this vile demon, it would be a form of salvation for the masses of the world as well. Reverend Shakia lamented. All right, let's cut the crap. Time to FCK him up. All right, you go first. You first. Benefactor, you can't do that. How about we go together? Will that do? Sure. ... You guys are truly courting death. The gleaming blood lord laughed out coldly as his killing intent rumbled furiously. Chapter 691. You too, you too. Chapter 691. You too, you too. Bald monk, you've got to be careful. This guy here is much stronger than us. Lin Fan was truly afraid that the bald monk might not be able to hold out. Even though Reverend Shakia was pretty decent in terms of his physical body state, if Lin Fan had to compare it with himself, they were still worlds apart. If he were to be caught by that gleaming blood lord, coughing out blood would probably be the least consequential outcome of it all. Thank you for your concern, benefactor. However, do not worry. This poor monk here has a treasure that can cause this demon to feel pressured. Reverend Shakia said with confidence. Holy FCK, a treasure that can suppress this demon. Why aren't you taking it out yet? Lin Fan's heart leapt with joy when he heard that this bald monk had a treasure of that sort. Could it be that there was a chance of tormenting this gleaming blood lord to death by working with this Reverend Shakia today? Benefactor, this poor monk was about to take it out when you started speaking to me. No matter what, you've got to give this poor monk some time to prepare for it. Reverend Shakia replied. Ha, suppress me, bald monk, you've got to be dreaming. Within this world, there is nothing that can suppress me. Killing you guys is as simple as killing dogs to me. Gleaming blood lord's tone was frosty. As for the treasure that this bald monk had mentioned, he did not believe in it at all. Gleaming blood lord, I'm telling you this once more. Please refer to this poor monk as Reverend Shakia. You have to know, even a Buddha has a temper. Once I'm angered, blood shall paint the skies. Reverend Shakia warned the gleaming blood lord sternly once more. Bald monk, you better hurry up. What crap are you still spouting to him? Hurry up and take out your treasure. Looking at how this Reverend Shakia was still yapping non-stop, Lin Fan was feeling exasperated. It was quite the miracle that he could remain alive till now given that character of his. All right, benefactor, please do not rush me. This poor monk is coming now. Reverend Shakia nodded his head. Instantly, Reverend Shakia placed his palms together in prayer and revealed a compassionate and solemn look. The world of Buddha's land shall purify the masses. May I turn into a Buddha and bring might to all celestial beings. A bright radiant Buddha light shone out like a banner as it descended down the back of Reverend Shakia. This light spread out in all directions as a Buddha's land floated up from Reverend Shakia's back. Heavenly petals were dropping out from all directions as the floor was filled with golden lotuses. The sound of a Buddha was akin to heavenly music. Buddhist dragons, arhats, and all sorts of phenomenon were appearing around the vicinity of the Buddha's land. The moment Lin Fan caught sight of this, his heart shuddered momentarily. To think that Reverend Shakia would have such methods as well. Indeed, this guy did have some capabilities to him after all. Just how many ancient race beings has this bald monk reformed? November LBJNN. The only thing Lin Fan could see within the Buddha's land was that it was cramped with those vile ancient race beings. All of these evil ancient race beings were seated cross-legged with a benevolent look on their faces. Chanting sutras along the way, golden lights of faith were emanated out. As though they were being guided somewhere, they all floated up into the skies of the paradise. Within the skies of this paradise, a single bead of Sarira that possessed a boundless amount of solemnity to it churned repeatedly. As these Sariras received the power of prayers, an illusory figure of a Buddha appeared with a solemn look on his face. He was flickering as he gradually materialized. As he chanted out his Buddhist sutras, golden scriptures began to float out of his mouth, filling up the entire world. The Dragon Elephant Buddha. The moment the gleaming blood lord caught sight of that illusory figure, his face turned extremely venomous. The gleaming blood lord would never forget this damned monk in his entire life. If not for this damned monk, the blood sea within his body would not have dried up into nothingness, and neither would he be in the state he was today. The hatred within him burnt furiously as the boundless rage coiled itself around his heart. Back then, the three Buddhas had joined forces together to suppress the gleaming blood lord. Amongst them, the Dragon Elephant Buddha sacrificed himself and converted into a boundless amount of supreme might that caused the blood sea of the gleaming blood lord to dry up entirely. Ever since then, the power level of the gleaming blood lord had depleted to its lowest point. In fact, it was so bad that his entire soul was almost devastated as he disappeared from the world ever since. If not for the fact that he met with the utmost being, saint, later on, he might have truly just died right there. However, even now that 1,000 years had passed, the gleaming blood lord had yet to recover from his injuries fully. That blood sea of his that was dried up is only now a mere 10% of its peak capacity. If this weren't the case, he would have long entered Divine Celestial Level 10, Eternal God state, instead of being where he was right now. Bald monk, not bad, To think that you would have such techniques. The power of Buddha that was being emitted out by the Sarira was causing Lin Fan to get some slight jitters in fact. What a formidable power of Buddha that was. The moment Reverend Shakya heard the words of Lin Fan, his heart leapt with joy as he pursed his lips, trying to contain that smile of pride. Benefactor, this is the Sarira of the Dragon Elephant Buddha. This contains all of his essence within, and can contain all the demons of this world. Even though this gleaming blood lord may be strong, he would be restricted under this Sarira still. This, coupled with all the ancient race beings that this poor monk has reformed, would generate a suppressive power that's more than enough to let the gleaming blood lord take quite a mouthful. Reverend Shakya was bursting with confidence right now. Showcasing a treasure of such quality, how could it not shock everyone around? And furthermore, he had managed to brag a little before Benefactor Lin. This was something absolutely pleasurable for him. Alright, let's go then. Lin Fan could feel the powers of the gleaming blood lord being reduced quite significantly. As such, he was filled with confidence in his heart right now. Bloody hell, he was almost walloped into a dead dog earlier on. Time to get some revenge for himself now. Bald monk, I'll have you dead. Meeting with his foe had him additionally incensed. This time around, the gleaming blood lord was truly going berserk. Turning into a long streak of light, the gleaming blood lord burst forth towards Reverend Shakya. As for Lin Fan, there was no way he could give gleaming blood lord that opportunity. With so near, yet so fierce, he crossed 100 miles instantly as he appeared behind the gleaming blood lord straight away. Lin Fan slammed out with his fist that took on many forms. A palm, a finger, a chop, the changes were continuous as all sorts of skill spirits were being channeled out. Gleaming blood lord, eat the strongest move of yours truly. Lin Fan's aura was radiant right now and way more encompassing than before. Throwing out a single punch, the entire world started breaking apart as this powerful force tugged the void along. In fact, a single punch like this could shatter a world by itself. Evil demon, this poor monk shall accord you with a cleansing Buddha fist. Do receive it properly. The face of Reverend Shakya was compassionate right now as millions of Buddhas swiveled around the knuckles of that fist he just sent out. Both of you are courting death. The gleaming blood lord roared out as a limitless amount of blood chi began to rumble out. Just as that fist of Reverend Shakya was about to make contact with the body of the gleaming blood lord, Reverend Shakya's expression tensed up all the more. The fist suddenly transformed into two fingers that changed their directions. Angered Buddha's eye pokers. FCK. Bald monk, you're really way too sinister. Looking at how the attack methods of the bald monk had changed suddenly, Lin Fan was stunned for a moment. However, when he saw how the attacks were directed towards the eyes of the gleaming blood lord, he started chuckling out as well. Benefactor, you too, you too. Reverend Shakya turned over to Lin Fan. He was thoroughly impressed with that low blow that Lin Fan had just pulled off as well. Ah, the combined attacks of these two men had the gleaming blood lord wailing out. A strong surge of energy repelled both Lin Fan and Reverend Shakya away. This tremendous amount of energy found itself infiltrating the bodies of Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia. Bald monk, even though this is the repressed gleaming blood lord, he is still pretty horrifying. Lin Fan warned out cautiously as his lips were now dirtied with his blood. That's right. However, I've got to say that the move you've just deployed was simply way too fabulous, benefactor. To think that it would deal such immense damage to the gleaming blood lord. Reverend Shakia was stunned by how tragic the gleaming blood lord looked right now. Ho ho, that goes without saying. This is a skill that can create the heavens itself, one which possesses the Tao of the world. No matter who it is, there is no way they'll be able to endure something like this. The moment this twisting heaven and earth of Lin Fan was deployed, it would bring forth with it an incredible amount of mysterious powers. Damn it, damn it. At this moment, the gleaming blood lord was blinded in both eyes while his groin area was being consumed by pain. Gleaming blood lord, you've lost completely. There is no way you can defend against this twisting heaven and earth from yours truly. Anyone who is struck by it shall suffer a pain so deadly there's no way you can even describe it. If you've got any last words, now's the time to say them. Lin Fan was filled with confidence towards this move of his. Even if Spirit of Bigra had no use, there was no way twisting heaven and earth could be blocked against. Despicable fella, the gleaming blood lord croaked out hoarsely. Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia exchanged knowing looks at one another and sniggered out, you too, you too. Chapter 692, A Not-So-Perfect Act. Chapter 692, A Not-So-Perfect Act. Benefactor, well, what should we do with the gleaming blood lord now? Reverend Shakia looked at the gleaming blood lord with sparkly bright eyes. If he could reform someone as powerful as the gleaming blood lord, that would be one hell of an awesome experience. Bald monk, let yours truly kill him. A single glance is more than enough to tell that a demon as such must have massacred countless of innocents. This gleaming blood lord was one hell of a powerful being. If Lin Fan could kill them, that was going to be quite a bit of experience points there. Who knew, there might even be some good stuff that might pop out of it. I don't think that's too good. The heavens value the virtue of compassion. How about letting this poor monk reform him instead so that he can repent and amend for his sins in the past? Looking at the pitiable state the gleaming blood lord was in right now, Reverend Shakia's heart was thirsty at just the thought of reforming him. After all, reforming such a powerful being would really be one hell of a huge gain. Ha ha, at this moment, the gleaming blood lord, who was still clutching his groin with both hands, burst out laughing wildly. That laugh was vile and evil. Do you guys really think that you can suppress me? Both of the gleaming blood lord's eyes had regrown out by now. However, the pain at his groin was still the most substantial damage to him. He did not know what sort of a method this human had used to render him defenseless against it. Oh, we can't suppress you. How about you flip over and let yours truly take a look then? Are you feeling a strong energy that's ramming itself at your inner heart? And this energy is causing you immense pain while you're unable to draw yourself away from it at all. Lin Fan smirked smugly. The gleaming blood lord had not expected that he would let these two ants get what they wished for. He was way too careless. If he hadn't been, there was no way these two fellas would be able to match up to him all alone. Benefactor, this skill of yours is way too strong. Is there any way to be released out of it? Reverend Shakia asked curiously. Naturally, Lin Fan chuckled. What's the way to break out of it? Reverend Shakia asked once more. Bald monk, I can tell it to you. But, you must not let this fella hear us at all. Lin Fan put on an act as he inched closer to Reverend Shakia's ears and whispered. However, to Reverend Shakia, this method of being released from the pain was so shocking that he leapt up in astonishment. What? The way of releasing it is to cut off that ding-dong down there. Reverend Shakia looked at Lin Fan in disbelief. To think that the release method would be this cruel. This is absolutely inconceivable. Not good. I've accidentally revealed the method of release. Reverend Shakia was surprised as he covered up his mouth quickly. His eyes were startled now, knowing that he messed up. Bald monk, what are you doing? How could you spout out something as important as such? Lin Fan's expression changed immediately. Run. We've got to run. The moment the gleaming blood lord caught sight of their expressions, he burst out laughing once more. Ha ha, so that's the release method. The gleaming blood lord had been using all his might to resist the immense power that was cruising through his body right now. However, there was no use at all. Therefore, the moment he heard this method mentioned by the Reverend Shakia, he leapt with joy in his heart. The both of you have got to die today. Slice. He acted as quickly as he spoke. A bright flash of light streaked by as the gleaming blood lord chopped down with his hand, severing that ding-dong of his. Cruel. Perverted. Inhumane. Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia exchanged glances with one another before sighing out. Finally, the six senses have come to find peace. If you were to convert over to the Buddha race, your achievements would definitely be limitless. Reverend Shakia remarked. Highs, how can you come out to play in the adults' world with that level of intellect? Believing in the words of just about anyone. Gosh, you really deserve to be suppressed. Lin Fan commented regrettably. Does it hurt? Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia asked with the same weird tone as they cast their sights at the gleaming Bloodlord together. Why you guys? The moment the gleaming Bloodlord severed his ding-dong, he did not feel the pain disappearing in the least bit. Instead, that malevolent face of his turned ever more berserk. Benefactor, how was my cooperation earlier on? Reverend Shakia asked Lin Fan. Yes, it wasn't too bad. However, it's a little exaggerated. But that's fine as well. The intellect of this gleaming Bloodlord isn't too high. He couldn't even tell that we were putting on an act for him. Lin Fan said. Benefactor, you're right. The moment I made that small action, this poor monk did realize that it was a little over the top. In fact, I think it came off as a little fake. I thought that this gleaming Bloodlord would be able to see through it. To think that it's as you have mentioned, Benefactor. The gleaming Bloodlord's intellect isn't all that high. He couldn't tell at all. Reverend Shakia rubbed that gleaming bald head of his as he revealed a bright smile. Looking at the two degenerates before him, the gleaming Bloodlord nearly spat out a mouthful of blood. He was the great demon lord. How could he be toyed by these two ants? All right, even if I have to expend all my core, I would ensure that you two are killed. The gleaming Bloodlord screamed out. Those eyes that were hidden beneath that mask were ever more venomous right now. The boundless blood sea that possesses all living beings. This isn't good. The gleaming Bloodlord's about to manifest into his true body. Reverend Shakia's face changed. He could sense a vast amount of energy bursting forth from the gleaming Bloodlord's body. The void of the Buddha's land began to vibrate out violently. Looking at the sight before him, even Lin Fan was getting startled. Instantly, the gleaming Bloodlord turned into a puddle of blood. The puddle of blood began to boil as a tremendous amount of tainted powers filled up the entire world, causing all sorts of negative emotions to breed from it. Broop, broop, broop. The puddle of blood was getting larger. In the blink of an eye, it encompassed the entire world and caged them within. How dare you two ants humiliate your lord as such? Your lord is going to devour you guys. The boundless blood sea that was filling up the sky suddenly opened up with a huge mouth. That titanic mouth was akin to a black hole. Far in the depths of that mouth, the head of the gleaming Bloodlord was embedded within. Benefactor, that skill of yours isn't working anymore. Looking at this formidable might of the gleaming Bloodlord right now, Reverend Shakia commented out nervously. Bald monk, no sh*t, Sherlock. I know that too. Lin Fan was pretty taken aback by the gleaming Bloodlord right now as well. At the same time, he did not expect that the gleaming Bloodlord would be able to remove the buff from twisting heaven and earth after reverting to his true body. Benefactor, what should we do now? Looking at the Buddha's land trembling under the might of the blood sea, Reverend Shakia knew that this would no longer contain the gleaming Bloodlord. Even the Sarira of the dragon elephant Buddha within was finding it hard to hold out soon. What else can we do? Pack up and run. Lin Fan did not dare to hesitate and fled immediately. Right. Reverend Shakia did not dare to dilly-dally either. Keeping his Buddha's land paradise back into his body immediately, he followed closely behind Lin Fan and darted into the distance. Ha, there's no way you guys can escape. Within this boundary of your lord, there's nowhere you guys can run off to. The gleaming Bloodlord bellowed out with a booming voice that quaked the entire world. Bald monk, how is this guy so strong after returning to his true body? Lin Fan was a little bewildered right now, and at the same time, this was quite the frustrating situation. Benefactor, the true body of the gleaming Bloodlord is the strongest blood in the entire world. However, returning to this form expends up a lot of his energy. After being struck by our sneak attack, he had no other way out but to turn back to his true body. Reverend Shakia explained. Bald monk, how can you speak like this? Could you consider that as a sneak attack? We were attacking righteously in his face. Lin Fan said. That's right, you're right too, Benefactor. That's a righteous sneak attack in the face. Reverend Shakia was realizing the errors in his speech. FCK, isn't that still a sneak attack nevertheless? Benefactor, we had better stop talking and save some breath so that we can continue fleeing. Otherwise, once that gleaming Bloodlord catches up with us, both of us wouldn't even have any scraps left at all. Chapter 693, Might of the Utmost Treasure. Chapter 693, Might of the Utmost Treasure. Lin Fan had not expected the gleaming blood lord to be this strong after reverting to his true body. The blood seas flooded the sky, covering the heavens and the sun. There was no way to escape out of this at all. The moment the gleaming blood lord opened his mouth, countless streaks of bloody light streamed out and attacked Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia, who retaliated immediately and dismissed them all. Benefactor, we've got to think up something. Otherwise, we're not going to get out of this alive. Reverend Shakia did not know what he should do now as well. Even his dragon elephant Buddha Sarira wasn't able to suppress this. What else could he do? You guys are not going to escape. The gleaming blood lord coiled over, and wherever he passed turned into a world of blood. That tainted chi was even infecting the entire world. In fact, some of the spirit chi in the surroundings was being devoured by it as well. Scream like your mother did when I did her. You haven't even caught up with us till now. Looking at how insolent the gleaming blood lord was, Lin Fan could not bear with it any longer. Instantly, he tossed out his hand as a rain of sword wills burst forth, piercing the blood sea. However, the blood sea regenerated to its prior form immediately. You're just wasting your efforts. Now that you have successfully riled your lord here, both of you shall die today. The head embedded within that titanic mouth of the blood sea bellowed out. Pishu. Just at this moment, a streak of bright light bolted over from the distance. Benefactor, check it out. What is that? Reverend Shakia remarked hurriedly. That's my second essence spirit. Lin Fan did not say anything more. Controlling it with his mind, Lin Fan's second essence spirit turned into a starlight that entered his body. At the same time, the second essence spirit brought with it the connate element of wood. Benefactor, what's wrong with you? Reverend Shakia asked anxiously, noticing that Lin Fan wasn't moving at all. Bald monk, help me hold him off for a bit. Lin Fan requested. All right. Even though Reverend Shakia did not know what Lin Fan was up to, he still stood forth valiantly against the Gleaming Blood Lord. Gleaming Blood Lord, this is all a misunderstanding. Please hear this poor monk out for a bit. Reverend Shakia called out calmly. However, he was pretty flustered in his heart. Ha ha, bald monk, have you just realized that there's no way out of this and you're feeling fretful now? But sure, your lord just has to see what else you can say. The Gleaming Blood Lord burst out laughing. Within the paradise, connate element of wood. The moment the big ancient demon sensed this aura of the connate element of wood, he grew impatient in his heart. If he could fuse this connate element of wood with him and have all 5 elements work together, he would definitely evolve into an utmost treasure. For every single treasure out there, it was a dream of a lifetime to evolve into an utmost treasure. Whether we can succeed or not depends on this. Lin Fan pointed out with his finger. The connate element of wood that was emitting out a strong life force began to swivel as it seeped into the demon city. Master, assist me in evolving. The big ancient demon floated above the demon city cross-legged as he gave off a sturdy aura. The 5 elements were churning out right now as the demon city was evolving as well. Alright, Lin Fan knew that the big ancient demon had to undergo a calamity. If he tided through it, he would turn into an utmost treasure. If he couldn't, it would be a hell of a torment for him. Lin Fan opened up his mouth and instantly, a large dragon of powers coiled out and entered the demon city. Yin-yang 5 elements, revolting the heavens and earth. Slapping out with both palms, the powers of yin and yang burst out instantly, mixing the powers of the 5 elements harmoniously. Bam, bam, the body of the big ancient demon exploded out repeatedly, with each explosion being an evolution of its own. Shenyang pills, burn. Without any bit of hesitation, Lin Fan incinerated 100 million Shenyang pills. A long river of the chi of Shenyang pill that was akin to a heavenly ocean gushed straight into the body of the big ancient demon. The utmost treasure was the highest state any treasure could reach. Therefore, the amount of power required by it was akin to that of a vast ocean. Master, I can feel the calamity. Boom, all of a sudden, a weird-looking cloud vortex appeared overhead the paradise. Black, red, white, etc. Clouds of every single color gathered in the sky above the demon city. The 3 plagues and 9 calamities. Boom, earth and fire, heavenly winds, thunderous bolts, flood waters, etc. All sorts of calamities fell at the same time. The big ancient demon growled out. His might was supreme and matchless. In the face of these calamities, he wasn't fearful in the least bit as his tough body resisted it all. Crack, the body of the big ancient demon began to shatter. In the blink of an eye, the 5 elements churned out as the strong vigor of the connate element of wood flushed over its body, repairing it continuously. Bald monk, was this the crap that you wanted to tell your lord here? The Gleaming Blood Lord roared. Ah, benefactor Gleaming Blood, where was this poor monk at? Reverend Shakia shook his head. He didn't even know what in the world he was talking about at all right now. What in the world could he have in common to talk with this bloody demon about? Therefore, even Reverend Shakia himself did not know what in the world he was crapping about with this guy about. Reverend Shakia looked at Lin Fan behind him, getting a little worried. Benefactor, just what in the world are you up to? Why are you not done yet? Bald monk, go to hell for your lord here. At that instant, the Gleaming Blood Lord bellowed out as that boundless blood sea came gushing down once more. Benefactor Gleaming Blood, don't be brash about this. It's bad to engage in fights and killings. Looking at the scene before him, Reverend Shakia was scared silly. This poor monk wasn't done with saying what he had to. Why was this guy striking out just like that? Bald monk, make way. Just as Reverend Shakia was caught at a loss and could only fight back with brute force, Lin Fan, who was motionless behind him, suddenly blasted out. All right, benefactor, I'll leave this bloody demon to you. Without any bit of hesitation, Reverend Shakia dodged to the side. Instantly, a bright flash streaked through. A demon city that brought with it a vast and endless demonic chi collided forth with the rumbling blood sea. By now, the aura of the big ancient demon had undergone a thorough change. A single fist could tear through the stars in the sky. That single fist was more than enough to completely destroy that rumbling and surging blood sea. Impossible, you're only a human, how can you possess a lower-grade utmost treasure? The Gleaming Blood Lord howled out at this moment. A lower-grade utmost treasure could be considered as something beyond a weapon. It could even be considered as a race of its own. The weapon spirits of an utmost treasure could possess a sense of self-consciousness. Not only could they comprehend the laws of the world by then, they could even cultivate their own bodies. HMPH, aren't you surprised? Lin Fan was very approving of that punch by the big ancient demon. Indeed, that was really strong. This guy hadn't let all his efforts gone to waste. Benefactor, the surprises and joy that you've brought for this poor monk is truly one too many. Reverend Shakia gasped in astonishment. This was an utmost treasure. Even he himself had yet to come across a true utmost treasure just yet. Haha, bald monk, are you stunned too? I'll let you watch something more stunning soon. Lin Fan burst out laughing. With an utmost treasure in his hands right now, the world practically belonged to him. Gleaming Blood Lord, your doom is here. Today, I shall let you know of the prowess of my utmost treasure. Shenyang pills, burn, demon god's descent. Waving his hands, 300 million Shenyang pills were burnt as they allowed the big ancient demon to go completely berserk. This single growl of the big ancient demon brought forth with it an unparalleled demonic chi while his body began to expand rapidly. In fact, there were even sounds of cracking as though he was breaking out of his cocoon shell. All of a sudden, 3 pairs of arms burst forth from the body of the big ancient demon along with a set of wings made up of flesh. This was the great god of the demon race, the 8-armed demon god. HMPH, even if it's an utmost treasure, your lord here isn't afraid. The Gleaming Blood Lord screamed out as a bright red light flashed above his blood sea and swallowed out at the big ancient demon. November LPJNN. The 8 arms of the big ancient demon danced, forming a ferocious typhoon that tore the blood sea apart entirely. How could this be? The Gleaming Blood Lord wailed out in pain. Damn it. You burned up Shenyang pills to allow that utmost treasure to go into a frenzy. The head of the Gleaming Blood Lord that was embedded within that gigantic mouth looked at everything in disbelief. Instantly, the big ancient demon sent a punch into that titanic mouth of the blood sea, causing it to rupture out entirely. Impossible. I'm the great Gleaming Blood Lord. I'm immortal and unkillable. The Gleaming Blood Lord had never expected that he would come to such a pitiful end. Bam! The blood sea was destroyed. The only thing left standing was the big ancient demon with his unparalleled supreme might across the world. Huh, what happened to all my experience points? Lin Fan was overwhelmed with joy in his heart. However, he suddenly came to the realization that there were no notifications of experience points from the system. Could it be that the Gleaming Blood Lord wasn't dead yet? Benefactor, the Gleaming Blood Lord has seized the opportunity to escape with a single drop of blood. Suddenly, Reverend Shakia pointed out to a shining red spot in the distance and yelled out. FCK, let's hurry up and chase. Now that he was at the end of this slaughter, how could he allow the Gleaming Blood Lord to make his escape? Lin Fan's body flashed nimbly as he hunted after that blood drop. Chapter 694, The Master of Geniuses. Chapter 694, The Master of Geniuses. This mother F***CKER really knows how to run. Lin Fan chased in hot pursuit. Damn it, he was just that single step away from killing that gleaming bloodlord entirely. How could he let that fella get away? The gleaming bloodlord is not the gleaming bloodlord for show. To think that he could escape this fast with just a single drop of his blood. This is truly startling for this poor monk to witness. Reverend Shakia lamented with a look of respect in his face. Seems like anyone can produce an astounding amount of power when stuck in dire straits. This gleaming bloodlord is a very good example of that. Bald monk, the FCK are you praising him for? Benefactor, it's just a slight acknowledgement that I was giving him, that's all. Reverend Shakia said exasperatedly. You little scoundrel, gleaming bloodlord. You had better stop there for yours truly. At this moment, Lin Fan was giving it his everything. However, there was still quite some distance between him and the gleaming bloodlord. You two beasts, your lord will definitely not let you guys off. The gleaming bloodlord was raging with fire within his heart right now. He was in so much turmoil he couldn't even bring himself to tears. To think that he would be relegated to such a state by these two ants. If he hadn't experienced this personally, he wouldn't have believed that this would one day happen to him even if he were threatened with death. No-vel-p in .c ohm. That's right, even if you don't want to let us off, you've got to come to a stop and fight us for a good 300 rounds. Lin Fan yelled out. However, to Lin Fan's dismay, the gleaming bloodlord was only focused on running. He had no intentions of fighting Lin Fan for a good 300 rounds at all. Damn it, all of you just wait for your lord here. The gleaming bloodlord did not want to say anything any longer. Benefactor gleaming blood, the heavens take mercy on the living. The torments of life are endless. It is for the best that you repent as soon as you can. This poor monk swears that I'll definitely not kill you. Reverend Shakia was truly sincere about reforming the gleaming bloodlord. Even though it was only a single drop of fresh blood right now, as long as he put in the effort, he was sure that the gleaming bloodlord could return to his initial self. By then, if he could reform that gleaming bloodlord with that cultivation state, the amount of faith provided would be limitless. Bald monk, you had better shut your damn mouth for your lord here. Wait till the day your lord regains his power. That will be the day of the Buddha race's annihilation. The gleaming bloodlord lashed out in anger. He wouldn't even trust a single one of the words of this bald monk's. For the gleaming bloodlord, everyone from the Buddha race was sanctimonious. FCK, you bloody sh*t, to think that you would refuse the dignity that this poor monk has chosen to offer you. Today, this poor monk is going to reform you. Benefactor Lin, after you catch this fella, please hand him over to your poor monk here. Otherwise, this poor monk would not have peace of mind. Reverend Shakia said. Fart off, you can't get peace of mind. What has that got to do with yours truly here? Yours truly has spent so much effort walloping this gleaming bloodlord till he's left as just a single drop of blood now. I've even wasted hundreds of millions of Shenyang pills. If I don't kill him, I won't even recoup the losses in the slightest bit. Bloody bald monk, if you dare to snatch him away from yours truly will ensure that you spend the rest of your life carrying those two lumps on your chest. How could Lin Fan not know what this bald monk was thinking about? At the same time, how could he allow the bald monk to do as he wished? Ah, benefactor, those of the Buddha race possess the virtue of generosity. Since you desire it, this bald monk shall naturally grant it to you. Then, I shall hand this gleaming bloodlord over to you then, benefactor. Even though Reverend Shakia felt miserable in his heart, he did not dare to defy the words of Lin Fan. What if this fella truly did not revert his chest back to normal? Wouldn't he be dead meat then? Bald monk, you're simply way too dirty. However, I'm not going to continue crapping with you here. Yours truly is going to increase my speed now. Lin Fan did not want to continue nagging along with the bald monk. In the blink of an eye, he used so near, yet so far. Gleaming bloodlord, there's no way you're going to escape. Lin Fan could be considered to have gone all in for this battle. All of his Shenyang pills were completely expended. If he did not kill this gleaming bloodlord, then he was going to take a hell of a loss. The gleaming bloodlord turned around hurriedly and took a look in a shock. To think that the speed of this human would be this fast. In the blink of an eye, the gleaming bloodlord burst forth with a beam of glowing blood as his speed increased as well. Damned fella, to think that you would be forcing your lord here to waste the last bit of my essence blood. The gleaming bloodlord was burning with rage in his heart. If he managed to escape this time around, who knew how long it would take him to recover back to his peak status. Back when he was suppressed by those 3 Buddhas, it took him 1,000 years to recover just a mere 10% of his powers. This time around, it would definitely be nothing short of a few dozens of thousands of years if he wanted to recover fully. Damn it, the gleaming blood lord was filled with an endless amount of hatred right now. However, there was nothing he could do about it. Benefactor, watch out. All of a sudden, Reverend Shakia suddenly yelled out. Far in the distance, a gigantic hand suddenly appeared. The hand seemed like a hand of the firmaments itself that could grab at everything in this world. The entire world beneath seemed to be under the control of this one hand. Piak, all of a sudden, the escaping gleaming blood lord was suddenly grabbed by this gigantic hand. There was no chance for him to fight back at all. What the FCK? Lin Fan came to a stop and was taken aback. He did not know what in the world was going on with this hand. Arg, let go of your lord here. Your lord is the great gleaming blood lord. The gleaming blood lord was trapped within that hand. However, no matter how hard he tried to struggle, he couldn't break free of it at all. Benefactor, what's the situation right now? Reverend Shakia was slightly rattled at this situation that was happening. He was pretty bewildered at what was going on. Are you dumb? Can't you tell? Obviously, someone's here to steal away the fruits of our labor. The gleaming blood lord was walloped by us till he was down to a single drop of blood. And this gigantic hand is just trying to seize the opportunity to steal our prey away. Damn it, Lin Fan was utterly displeased right now. Daddy has been fighting here for half a day, and now someone wants to come and take a cheap victory. To think that even the supremely unparalleled gleaming blood lord would meet with an end as such today. Seems like what goes around comes around. Karma isn't a pleasant thing to receive. From the void, a figure suddenly stood out. This figure was wearing a gray cotton shirt, and had a long white beard hanging from his chin. Standing there, he did have some sort of a resemblance to a deity. This is Feng Qingzi here. Nice to meet the both of you. The bearded old man had a benevolent look on his face as he remarked calmly. What, to think that it's him. The moment Reverend Shakia heard this name, his face changed immediately. Bald monk, you know who he is? Looking at the expression on Reverend Shakia's face, Lin Fan asked curiously. Yes, he is a renowned powerful being of the ancient saint world. Many geniuses were under the guidance of this Feng Qingzi here. One could even say that he's the master of geniuses. Reverend Shakia's eyes were sparkling right now. It was as though the best thing that could happen to him right now would be if he could receive some guidance from this man himself. FCK, what a big shot, but, I can't tell that at all. Lin Fan looked at this old man before him in shock. To think that this plain and unassuming looking old man would be that big. Everything is just a reputation that was blown up by the world. Seems like this little monk here knows a thing or two about this old man here, Feng Qingzi's face grinned as he felt gleeful in his heart. While a tree lived by its bark, a human lived by his skin. Even though Feng Qingzi's cultivation was mighty and deep, he still could not contain that pride he felt when his juniors were looking at him with such reverence. This poor monk here is Shakia. Greetings to Senior Feng Qingzi. Lin Fan's mind started tinkering. Based on the situation right now, he had better give it some proper thoughts. Bald monk, do you think this fella is going to give us some guidance? Lin Fan whispered softly. Most likely. Usually, the places where Senior Feng Qingzi appears would be places where geniuses would receive guidance from him. Seems like I, Shakia, am truly a genius of the Buddha race. To think that I could catch the attention of Senior Feng Qingzi. Reverend Shakia replied in ecstasy. FCK, you shameless sh*t. Looking at the self-important look on Reverend Shakia's face right now, Lin Fan cast him a look of disdain. If it were truly a genius they were talking about, there could be no one else but yours truly here. However, yours truly would have to first check out just what the cultivation state of this old man is first. In a flash, Lin Fan sized up the old man from head to toe. Divine Celestial Level 10, Eternal God State. However, the feeling that this old man was giving to Lin Fan was pretty frightening. In fact, even the utmost being of the ancient race, Cruel, might not be a match for him at all. Strong. Indeed, he was really strong. Chapter 695, Let's Make a Wager. Chapter 695, Let's Make a Wager. Little buddy there, your potential is unparalleled. The extent of your growth in a mere span of 4 years has been amazing. If I were to give you even more time, wouldn't you truly be something? Feng Qingzi came before Lin Fan with a smile. You know of me. Lin Fan was slightly taken aback. However, it became clear to him before long. Damn, yours truly was a flirtatious character. Wherever he went, he would naturally be the center of attraction. Therefore, it was understandable that this old man would know of him. A year ago, little buddy, you fought against the essence spirit of the utmost being of the ancient race solo. This old fellow here is aware of that event. Feng Qingzi's sight did not leave Lin Fan in the slightest bit. It was as though he was trying his best to see through Lin Fan entirely, to see just what sort of capabilities this young lad here had that he could grow to such an extent in just 4 years. As for Reverend Shikia by the side, he had long been left in the dust by Feng Qingzi. Senior Feng Qingzi, this poor monk. Reverend Shikia wanted to make an introduction so that Senior Feng Qingzi would pay him some attention. However, just as Reverend Shikia had started with his sentence, he was interrupted by Feng Qingzi. Little monk of the Buddha race, this old fellow knows who you are. The moment Feng Qingzi was done with this sentence, he did not say anything any longer and continued staring at Lin Fan fixedly. Indeed, your caliber is unmatched. This old fellow here has seen many, many geniuses. However, there is none with a potential like yours. Feng Qingzi acknowledged. Say, Nior. Feeling like he was neglected, Reverend Shikia was feeling pretty dejected right now. This was especially the case when he caught sight of that gloating smile on Lin Fan's face. Reverend Shikia felt even more pained at that moment. This poor monk could be considered as a genius of the Buddha race as well. Why wouldn't he just take an extra look at him? Little buddy, what do you think about taking me as your master? Back when Lin Fan's name was skyrocketing up the fugitive list, he had already attracted Feng Qingzi's attention. On the fugitive list, it was unheard of for a living being to bolt up the list this quickly. There was no precedence to this at all. As such, Feng Qingzi took the liberty of exiting his seclusion in search of Lin Fan. And this one search took him a couple of years. In fact, there would even be times when Feng Qingzi would pay a visit to the jails of the utmost beings of the ancient race to check them out. That was just in case a genius as such might be captured by an utmost being of the ancient race. Later on, he caught wind of some news. With that, he started searching all the way and eventually found Lin Fan here. When he caught sight of how Lin Fan suppressed the gleaming blood lord, Feng Qingzi was especially determined on taking this lad as his disciple. This old man must be sick. Looking at that penetrative look being given off by Feng Qingzi, Lin Fan could feel his spirits being rattled. There was a feeling of his anus being peeped at by someone. The moment Reverend Shikia heard that Senior Feng Qingzi was keen on taking Lin Fan as a disciple, he was extremely startled. Feng Qingzi was a great man, whose name was starkly known across the entire ancient saint world. There were countless geniuses who wanted to take him as their master, but none of them could catch his eye at all. To think that Feng Qingzi would take the initiative to step forth and even ask for Benefactor Lin to be his disciple. This was something that had Reverend Shikia envious to no ends. If only he could take Feng Qingzi as his master, he would have truly gone up in status to a whole new level by then. However, the moment Lin Fan heard these words, he could only scoff in his heart. Hue, taken yours truly as a disciple. This guy has got to be dreaming. What sort of a person was yours truly? This was a god with a system to his name. Furthermore, he was the Grand Master of Saint Devil sect. If he were to take someone as his master, wouldn't he be below someone then? Benefactor Lin, what are you still hesitating about? Senior Feng Qingzi is a great man like no other. There have been countless geniuses who had wanted Senior Feng Qingzi as their master, but they were far from qualified. Looking at the hesitation on Lin Fan's actions, Reverend Shikia hurried instantly. He could not wish for more than for Senior Feng Qingzi to take him in as a disciple. But, it was a pity that Senior Feng Qingzi had not set his eyes on him. This was pretty much a sin for Reverend Shikia. Bald monk, cut your crap. Lin Fan tossed a glance over at Reverend Shikia. However, there was a strange glint in that look. Reverend Shikia was a sharp person. The moment he caught sight of Lin Fan's expression, his heart jerked momentarily. Not good. Benefactor Lin is plotting something again. Even though Reverend Shikia had not been with Lin Fan for all that long, he could tell what sort of a person Benefactor Lin was in general already. So, you're Senior Feng Qingzi, right? Lin Fan sized him up from head to toe. Once you formally acknowledge this old fellow as your master, you can call me revered master. Feng Qingzi said in a calm tone. Given his prestige, if he ever mentioned that he wanted to take a disciple in, it would be probable that there would be no genius in the ancient saint world who could sit still over the news. And this little buddy of the human race was pretty decent indeed. To think that he could maintain his composure up till now. This was truly befitting as a disciple that this old fellow himself had taken a liking to. I've yet to acknowledge you, man. Furthermore, I don't even know if you've truly got what it takes. Lin Fan said. Haha, those are needless worries, little buddy. This old fellow has traversed through the entire ancient saint world. There is no one who doesn't know or hasn't heard of my name. There have been many geniuses who had wanted me to take them in as my disciples, but most of them haven't been to my taste at all. Feng Qingzi chuckled out. It isn't because I'm over-worrying. The fact remains that I've lived my entire life without a master, and have gotten to where I am because of my own self-learning. There have been countless great men such as yourself who have wanted me to take them as my masters. However, because none of them have ever passed my test, they all backed off in failure eventually. What? Self-learning? The moment Feng Qingzi heard the words of Lin Fan, his expression changed instantly, evidently somewhat disbelieving of it. Reverend Shakia looked at Lin Fan as some disbelief was starting to bubble in his heart as well. Who was he trying to bluff? Bloody hell, no master. How could anyone get this strong without a master? That's right. If you can get through my test, then that will be the time when I'll acknowledge that you have the capabilities to be the revered master of me, Lin Fan. But, by the looks of it, I don't think that you have the confidence to pull through it either. Lin Fan said with an unconvinced tone. Ha ha, what a joke. Is there anything in this world that this old fellow here is not capable of? Feng Qingzi burst out laughing as though he had just heard some sort of a funny joke. See, you're bragging again. How about you go slay the utmost being of the ancient race right now? Lin Fan said. Cough. The moment Feng Qingzi heard these words, he coughed out instantly. He then waved his hand dismissively. Little buddy. This is a grave matter. The utmost beings are not people whom you can kill as and when you like to. Alright, we'll skip that for now then. Do you wish to accept my challenge then? Lin Fan asked. However, he sniggered out sinisterly in his heart. He was going to lure this old man in bit by bit. Even though this old man was really strong, Lin Fan had never once thought of taking someone as his master. After all, he was someone with a system. As long as he were to progress steadily, he would definitely turn into an invincible existence someday. That was something that he could say with certainty. Ha ha ha, this is a first in the world indeed. The world has only known of disciples going through tests in order to acknowledge someone as their master. To think that there would be such a thing as a master taking in a test for a disciple. Alright, speak your mind then. What test is it? This old fellow here might as well open up your vision to a brand new world. Feng Qingzi chuckled out. However, it wasn't something he was really bothered about. Give me some time to think about it. Lin Fan snickered in his heart as he began to contemplate deeply. On the sidelines, Reverend Shakia was watching with a throbbing heart. Indeed, comparisons would be the death of someone. To think that he wanted to be senior Feng Qingzi's disciple so badly, yet the other party wouldn't even look at him at all. But at the same time, he did not know what sort of a test this benefactor Lin was thinking of. However, given the crafty nature of benefactor Lin, there was no way in hell this was going to be something good. I've got it. Lin Fan's heart leapt with joy. The test is simple. I'll run for a duration of 10 breaths. If you can catch me, we'll consider it as my loss. However, if you can't find me, it'll be your loss. How about that? So simple. Feng Qingzi looked at Lin Fan suspiciously. To think that the test would be this simple. Given his cultivation state, a thought was all it took for him to control the world in his palms. Not to talk about even 10 breaths, 100, heck, even 1,000 breaths would be no issue at all. Of course, not. How could it be that simple? You've got to hand over all the storage rings on your fingers. Oh, also that essence spirit of the gleaming blood lord. Otherwise, if I were to hide and you were to choose not to find me or something, wouldn't it be a waste of my time? Lin Fan said. Sure, no problems. Feng Qingzi was really confident in himself. Therefore, he did not hesitate at all. Okay, you must be willing to lose if you make a wager. Then, this is a done deal as such. Lin Fan received over the storage rings of Feng Qingzi. His heart was overwhelmed as though flowers had just blossomed within. Bald monk, let us take our leave. Grabbing Reverend Shakia with him, Lin Fan tunneled far into the distance. Feng Qingzi stroked his white beard and smiled calmly. This was in the bag for sure. Everything was in the palms of his hands. Even if they were to escape to the ends of the world, they wouldn't be able to escape his grasp. How the young ones are these days. They are truly too naive, and do not know of the immensities of the world at all. A duration of 10 breaths. This old fellow could catch up with them by just blinking a few times. Chapter 696. Little buddy, come on out. Chapter 696. Little buddy, come on out. Benefactor, why do you not want to take him as a master? This is senior Feng Qingzi we're talking about. Do you know how many geniuses have tried bowing to him as a master but failed? Reverend Shakia said with a throbbing heart. If you want to take him as a master, go and do it on your own. Bald monk, are you going bonkers over wishing for a master? Oh, I'd love to. But, it's a pity that Senior Feng Qingzi does not take an eye upon this bald monk. No matter what, this poor monk here is a genius of the Buddha race. How is it that I turned into someone incapable in the eyes of Senior Feng Qingzi? Reverend Shakia remarked regrettably. Cut the crap, this old man isn't too smart anyways. Did you see that? His storage ring, the amount of treasures within this must be immeasurable. Lin Fan said excitedly. So what if they are immeasurable? I guarantee that Senior Feng Qingzi would definitely appear before you instantaneously once the time's up. By then, all you can do is look at this storage ring go. Reverend Shakia replied. Bald monk, why are you so stupid? Forget it, I'm not going to bother talking more with you. Later on, don't resist me. I'm going to keep you within my treasure first. Lin Fan remarked. Benefactor, are you for real? This is the storage ring of Senior Feng Qingzi. Reverend Shakia called out in astonishment. Feng Qingzi was a crazily powerful being. If his items were to be so easily taken, everyone would have done so long ago. Of course, I'm for real. Who's kidding with you now? Alright, time's about to be up. Once I'm done with this heist, I'm going to be helluva rich. Lin Fan did not wait for the bald monk to say anything anymore as he kept him within the heaven and earth smelt. By now, 5 breaths had already passed. This time around, Lin Fan ran faster than anyone could have ever done so. However, he knew that this Feng Qingzi was someone with real capabilities as well. No matter how far he ran, he would definitely be caught by this guy in a jiffy. He had to think up a plan. Old man, you're the one who came knocking on my doorsteps. You can't blame yours truly for this. Lin Fan did feel a little guilty for taking this old man's storage ring all for his own. However, when he thought of his accomplishments to come in the future, he forgave himself. He was definitely someone who was going to go at the ancient race with his life from here on forth. Well, this storage ring of the old man. He might as well just take it as a form of support from an elder for his junior then. Stealth, or a retract, Lin Fan laid flat on the ground, staring up at the skies. He did not believe that the old man could truly find him out. He had the system to help him hide his aura. Even if it were a super-duper ultra-powerful being, they would definitely not be able to find him out. 10 breaths were up. Back when Lin Fan had run away, Feng Qingzi sent out his consciousness to check it out. He found out that this lad had run all the way forward before coming to a stop somewhere. He then grinned. After that, Feng Qingzi did not hurry at all. He just waited out slowly as he took back his consciousness. The strength of this little buddy from the human race was decent. At the same time, his potential was unparalleled. However, even if that were the case, it was still far too weak for Feng Qingzi. There were all sort of mythical uses unlocked when one got to Divine Celestial Level 10, Eternal God State. If one weren't of this cultivation state, they wouldn't be able to sense it at all. No matter how far he ran, Feng Qingzi could appear before him in the blink of an eye. This little buddy is interesting indeed. But that's fine, 10 breaths are up now. Time to go seek him out. Feng Qingzi stroked that white beard of his as he smiled gently. With that, the disposition of a great man was emanated out from him instantly. However, just as Feng Qingzi was trying to seek out Lin Fan's location, his face changed. How can this be? Feng Qingzi's face was turning terrible right now. Unable to believe it, he tried searching once more. Using his consciousness to sweep through the world, no matter which direction he looked at, there was no trace at all. Impossible. How can this be possible? Feng Qingzi was no longer able to maintain his composure. This was something that was absolutely inconceivable in his mind. Even though that little buddy of the human race was strong, how could he possibly escape his search? At that moment, Feng Qingzi leapt forth from the ground and headed in the direction where Lin Fan was. This old fellow's storage ring is still in the hands of the other party. No, things probably wouldn't go wrong. That little buddy of the human race has his mind set on killing the ancient race beings. Naturally, he is someone just and righteous, and would definitely not covet my storage ring. Now that the little buddy is in hiding, if I can't find him, he would definitely show himself out for sure. Feng Qingzi consoled himself at this moment. N-O-V-E in.C Om. Little buddy, where can you be? Feng Qingzi called out. His long, white beard started to quiver slightly as well. Evidently, he was pretty restless right now. How could this be? Even if it's a mere skill that hides one's aura, he should definitely not be able to escape the detection of this old man's search. Feng Qingzi looked out in all directions and spread his consciousness out as well. However, he still could not find any trace of Lin Fan at all. He's here. Lin Fan laid on the ground and looked up into the sky. At this moment, Feng Qingzi was floating there and searching for him in all directions. Hee. This time around, the old man truly got scammed, Lin Fan smirked indifferently. Ever since he had entered stealth mode, Lin Fan did not budge at all. This guy was such a powerful old man. If that were the case, the amount of treasures within his storage ring must definitely be inestimable. If he were to just waste time as such, it would definitely belong to him eventually. Time passed by the second and minute. Feng Qingzi was starting to feel really uneasy. Looking at the darkening skies, Feng Qingzi sensed that something was not right. Little buddy, come on out. You're right, this old fellow here has lost. I'm not going to insist on having you as a disciple any longer. Feng Qingzi called out. However, other than the cold, lonely breeze that was accompanying him, there was nothing else moving at all. Little buddy, don't mess around anymore. Yes, this old fellow was the one bragging. I truly can't find you. Please come on out. Little bug, if you don't come out and you're caught by this old fellow here, I'm not going to be courteous to you at all. Little buddy, please, I'm pleading to you, please come on out. The supreme great man, Feng Qingzi, was pained beyond words right now. He had a feeling that he was scammed. He was truly scammed by that little buddy from the human race. The current Feng Qingzi was bashing on himself for making that gamble. At the same time, he was deeply regretting that confidence of his right now. Given his strength, he was certain that no one in this world would be able to escape from under his eyelids. However, the current situation had Feng Qingzi feeling as though he was given a tight slap across the face. This robbery by yours truly. Am I being a little too much? Looking at the heart-wrenching expression of Feng Qingzi, Lin Fan could not help but feel like he was in a spot right now. However, in the blink of an eye, Lin Fan had already come up with the perfect excuse for himself. It's all for the sake of the thousands of races. Even though this old man's strength was decent, he wouldn't even dare to go kill the utmost being of the ancient race. The guts he possessed were simply way too small. Since that was the case, the burden of the responsibility would lie on Lin Fan's shoulders then. Even though the ancient race is strong, yours truly isn't afraid. The wealth of such a powerful being must definitely be immense. If he could make use of it, his strength would definitely skyrocket for sure. After he had thought through things, Lin Fan no longer had the same feeling of guilt any longer. The days and nights switched places. The sun was shining brightly as a pair of sleazy eyes were checking out the situation up in the void. Lin Fan truly had to give it to this old man. To think that he could stand there for an entire day and night. It seemed as though he was ready to wait it out with yours truly. At the same time, Feng Qingzi was truly regretful of his actions. If he had known that this would be the case, he would have never handed his storage ring to the other party. At the same time, he was remorseful over accepting of this wager. Scam. This was a downright scam. This lad should still be nearby somewhere. If I'm going to continue standing here, this lad would certainly not appear for sure. Seems like the only way is for me to go into hiding as well. The moment Feng Qingzi thought of this, he disappeared from where he was in the blink of an eye. Entering the void, he waited from there patiently. Has he gone away? Looking at Feng Qingzi's departure, Lin Fan was puzzled. No, that can't be. The old man is trying to scam me. This trick has been used by me countless times. There's no way I'm going to fall for it. But, since that's the case, then so be it. It's been a long time since I've taken a good rest as well. I'll just sleep here for an entire month then. After that, Lin Fan did not think of anything much any longer. He closed his eyes and went straight to sleep. First, he would sleep this guy off for an entire month before deciding on his next course of action. Chapter 697. While virtue is a single foot tall, the demon is 10 feet tall. Chapter 697. While virtue is a single foot tall, the demon is 10 feet tall. Within the void, Feng Qingzi was watching the situation below with eyes wide open. As long as this lad were to come out, he would definitely arrest him right there and teach him a good lesson. How could he take the items of this old fellow here? Where was the heavenly justice in it all? At the same time, Lin Fan was observing the situation up in the void with eyes wide open as well. He was feeling a little exasperated. This old man was simply way too crafty. But fine, so be it then. Time to see who could hold out for the longest. Right now, Lin Fan laid on the ground without daring to budge a single inch. Such a powerful being would definitely be able to pick up on even the slightest changes in the air currents. Therefore, for safety's sake, Lin Fan chose not to move at all. Even if there were no disturbances, he kept his still. 3 days later, Feng Qingzi did not appear any longer. Lin Fan felt that by now, that old man should have left. After all, anyone with a normal intellect would have definitely assumed that he would have run off instead of staying where he was without budging an inch at all. However, just as Lin Fan was about to get up, a figure appeared in the void. The moment Lin Fan caught sight of this figure, he was momentarily scared shitless as he went back to being a dead corpse obediently. Bloody hell, this old man is really dodgy. To think that he would choose not to emerge for the past few days. But the moment he emerged, it was really earth-shattering. Lin Fan was truly speechless right now. He was nearly shocked silly by this old man. It's been 3 days. Could he truly not be here? Seems like I can only head elsewhere to seek him. Feng Qingzi checked out the situation outside. He looked way more haggard than he was just a couple of days ago. After he said that, he delved right into the void once more. However, this time around, Lin Fan discovered a golden beam descending from the sky. To his surprise, that golden beam was from a storage ring. Holy FCK, this old man here is luring me to commit a crime. The moment Lin Fan caught sight of that golden sparkling storage ring, he was rendered pretty speechless. Just what sort of a person is this old man taking me for? Did he really think that yours truly was someone with an insatiable greed? Lin Fan was angered in his heart right now. This was a form of provocation. This was one last ditch at scamming him before he left. How could such a powerful being neglect something just like that? Was he taking yours truly for a fool? No, I'm not going out. Definitely not going out. Lin Fan shut his eyes tightly, determined not to be seduced by this storage ring before him. At this moment within the void, N-O-V-E in .C ohm. Feng Qingzi looked at the storage ring he had just dropped with a fixated gaze. If he wanted to catch the wolf, he must be willing to pay the price. He refused to believe that he couldn't lure that lad out. From the unknowns, there was a gut feeling that Feng Qingzi had, telling him that the lad from the human race did not leave and was just hiding around in the void. This was a sort of sixth sense that one would obtain after entering the Divine Celestial Level 10, Eternal God state. Towards oncoming danger, towards treasure, they had a sense towards things. HMPH, this old fellow here refuses to believe that you wouldn't come out. And once you do, this old man is going to give you one tight slap to teach you a good lesson. At such a young and tender age, how can you learn something such as stealing and scamming an old man? Feng Qingzi was angered right now. If one did not experience it for themselves, they would not understand the pain in his heart right now. Within the storage ring that was scammed away by Lin Fan were treasures that were accumulated by Feng Qingzi over a few thousand years. If he were to lose them just like that, it would truly be heartbreaking. Just like that, yet another 10 days passed. Lin Fan was close to his breaking point now. Holy FCK, is this old man going to leave or what? Lin Fan was utterly exasperated right now. Could it be that the storage ring on the ground is truly something that the old man had left behind due to a moment of carelessness? After hesitating for quite some time, Lin Fan decided on waiting still. By the looks of it, this old man seemed like someone cunning with many plans. The only reason why he had managed to deceive him this time around was all thanks to the old man's overconfidence. However, now that the old man knew that he was scammed, he must definitely be making all sorts of plans to capture him back. Boom! All of a sudden, a loud explosion rang out. Feng Qingzi, what are you doing over at my territory? An aura of unparalleled might burst forth from the void. This aura was extremely overbearing, filled with a tyrannical nature. Isn't this the aura of the utmost being, cruel? The moment Lin Fan sensed this aura, his face changed immediately. Cruel, this old man came forth to settle something. I shall leave now. ... Indeed, that old man did not leave at all. The moment Lin Fan heard the voice of Feng Qingzi, his heart jerked a little. Holy FCK, this old man was really too good at enduring. To think that he could tolerate for this long. HMPH, do you think you can come and go as you wish? Stay here. The voice of the utmost being, cruel, was akin to a booming thunderbolt right now. The moment he struck out, the void trembled. In a flash, Feng Qingzi's body shifted out nimbly as he dived into the void in the distance. Bang, boom, thump, whoosh, the battle that ensued was earth-shattering. Eventually, it moved further and further away into the void at the far reaches of the skies. To think that the one who would save me eventually would turn out to be the utmost being, cruel. Lin Fan heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. If not for the appearance of the utmost being, who knew how long more this old man was going to wait for. But, as they said, all's well that ends well. Eventually, the old man still left. However, right at that moment, Lin Fan's sight was caught by a dazzling golden flash. Ha ha ha, that old man has forgotten about his storage ring. The moment Lin Fan saw this, his heart leapt with joy. What was this called again? Right, trying to catch a chicken but ending up losing the rice used to lure it. Did yours truly really come across as someone that easy to deal with? Based on the outcome, obviously not. Rich, I'm definitely rich for sure this time around. Oh well, this storage ring that you've dropped, old man. I guess it should belong to me, oh ho. Lin Fan stood up straight and walked towards the storage ring immediately. But right now, safety came before anything else. Lin Fan still did not exit his stealth status. Looking at the storage ring, Lin Fan gulped down his saliva and stretched out that kind and compassionate hand of his. Ding! Congratulations on discovering Jail of Greed. The moment Lin Fan touched the storage ring, the notification from the system rang out. When Lin Fan heard the sound of the notification, he was stumped entirely. Holy FCK, that old man scammed me. The color drained from Lin Fan's face immediately. He wanted to toss away the storage ring. However, before he could react, a bright burst of light shone out from the storage ring. It took on the shape of a jail, trapping Lin Fan within it. Earth tunneling. Without any bit of hesitation, Lin Fan wanted to tunnel into the ground. However, he realized that the ground seemed to have been sealed up. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get into it at all. Ha ha, ha ha ha, all of a sudden, a cheery laughter chirped through the world. How now, lad, you've been tricked, haven't you? A figure appeared before Lin Fan. And when Lin Fan caught sight of who it was, he was flabbergasted. 2 streams of tears streaked down his face gently. While virtue is a single foot tall, the demon is 10 feet tall. Old man, weren't you chased by the utmost being of the ancient race? Lin Fan could not even bring himself to cry out over his anguish right now. This was the last stretch now. To think that he would be done in by this old man. Utmost being of the ancient race. Oh, did you see him? That's just an aura that this old man here simulated out. How now, do you submit? Feng Qingzi laughed out brightly. All of those sulky feelings he had accumulated over the past few days had disappeared entirely by now. Lin Fan had nothing to say right now. His plan was already well laid out. To think that this old man's plan would be even craftier than his. There was always someone better than one out there. Seemed like there were people who were way more cunning than he was. Now, are you willing to take this old fellow here as your master? Lin Fan, Chapter 698, I was brought up being threatened. Chapter 698, I was brought up being threatened. Lin Fan had not expected this old man to be so crafty and have such a deeply laid out plan. To think that he would fall into his trap in a moment of carelessness. Young lad, the path that this old fellow has been through isn't something you can imagine. Then again, when I was young back then, I was also someone with an immense caliber to my name. But, the fact that you're able to make a fool out of me to this extent is something worth being proud of. You're a disciple that this old fellow is taking in for sure. Under my guidance, you will definitely be able to surpass me in the future. Feng Qingzi was extremely pleased right now. The more he looked at this lad before him, the more he was satisfied with him. Cultivation wasn't dependent on one's potential only. It depended on one's smarts as well. All of those stoneheads who only knew how to cultivate day and night without having any brains would ultimately come to no good end. Furthermore, there were so many geniuses and people with unparalleled potential amongst the beings of the thousands of races. But as the saying went, the true king is the last one left standing. Only those who could manage to live till the end could deserve to be the winner. Lin Fan rolled his eyes. Why in the world did these words sound so familiar? You should be proud. Bloody hell, these were the type of words that yours truly had always told everyone else out there. However, given the situation right now, Lin Fan could only sigh out helplessly. At this moment, Lin Fan released the bald monk out from the heaven and earth smelt. After trapping the bald monk for such a long time, he didn't even know if the latter would go crazy because of it. I'm finally let out. How now, benefactor, did you manage to run away? I'm gonna say this first. Those who were present are entitled to a portion of the share as well. We've got to split the loot properly, After being locked up within the heaven and earth smelt for such a long time, Reverend Shakia had given it a deep, long thought. This was the storage ring of Senior Feng Qingzi. How great would the treasures within be? If he could even get his hands on one or two of them, he would be rich. However, when he saw how strange Lin Fan's expression was right now, Reverend Shakia's face changed as his heart stopped beating for a second. He turned his head to the side instinctively, and all of a sudden, Feng Qingzi's figure came into his view. Thinking back at the words he had just spouted out, Reverend Shakia knew that he had FCKED up. Cough, cough, Benefactor Lin, how can you just take the storage ring of Senior Feng Qingzi just like that? Do you know how immoral that act of yours was? We've got to return the storage ring to Senior Feng Qingzi. Ah, Senior Feng Qingzi, you were here as well. Indeed, the arms of justice are overreaching indeed. Nothing escapes from them. The moment Reverend Shakia thought of the words he had said earlier on, he felt extremely messed up and tried to salvage the situation. Bald monk, don't bother acting now. Bloody hell, even though you're someone from the Buddha race, I know just how cheap you are, gosh. Looking at how this bald monk would speak according to the circumstances, Lin Fan felt that he was long used to it. Damn it, he had really done it this time around. However, despite that, there was still no chance if someone wanted Lin Fan to be convinced so simply. Old man, I'm indignant. We'll have another test if you've got the guts. Lin Fan's brains were running wild once more. No matter what, he must get out this place today. Taking yours truly as a disciple. No one in this world had the capacity to do so. Oh, what sort of a test is it again this time around? Feng Qingzi chuckled out calmly. After being scammed once, he wouldn't be taken in so easily for the second time. Feng Qingzi knew that this lad was really crafty. It's really simple. You see this brick in my hand? Let me knock you with it. If you don't puke blood because of it, we'll take it as my loss. Lin Fan took out the 9-5 legendary brick. This was his final resort. As for stuff such as Black Tiger Steel's Heart and True Origin's Crushing Kick, Lin Fan felt that it'd be better not to use those. If he were to deal any damage to this old man, it'd be hard to say that the old man wouldn't come seeking him for revenge. If he were to gain someone else by his side just like this bald monk, that'd be quite the tragedy as well. Why should this old fellow let you take the knock? Feng Qingzi could not sense any power emanating out from this brick. However, looking at how cunning the lad was, it was as though he was determined on going with him at it. Oh, so you don't dare to? Lin Fan would dare to guarantee that as long as this old man would let him knock even just once, he would be lying on the ground like a dead corpse. However, the most important thing was that if this old man wouldn't let him knock, there was nothing he could do about it. Lad, you've already lost. Feng Qingzi said, I cannot accept that outcome. Lin Fan yelled out. Even if you can't, you've got to accept it. Feng Qingzi replied. No, I can't accept it. No, Lin Fan tossed his head to the side indignantly. Senior, I accept it. Please take me in as your disciple. Reverend Shakia was on the brink of tears by now. On one side, one refused to accept the other as his master. On the other side, there was someone like him who would die to have this guy as a master. Yet, this master wasn't impressed by him in the least bit at all. Who could understand the pain in his heart right now? Your potential is way too low. This old fellow here isn't keen. Feng Qingzi was being pushed into a fluster by Lin Fan. Therefore, he did not even have the emotional capacity to give Reverend Shakia any face at all. This caused Reverend Shakia to feel really sad as he squatted down, drawing circles on the floor. Old man, why do you have to hurt this bald monk so severely? Even if his potential isn't good, you don't have to be this direct. The moment Reverend Shakia heard how Benefactor Lin was speaking up for him, he was filled with immense gratitude. However, he felt his heart being pierced through at the second half of the sentence. His potential isn't good. How is that possible? This poor monk has cultivated for 100 years to reach this state. Who else in this world could compete with him? Lad, this old fellow will ask you one last time. Are you convinced? HMPH. No, I'm not. Even if I were to die, I wouldn't be. Lin Fan kept a stiff upper lip. All right, very well. Since that's the case, this old fellow shall not be bothered with you guys any longer. The moment Feng Qingzi was done with that sentence, he left immediately. Oi, old man, you can leave if you want to. But you've got to get rid of this thing here first. Lin Fan was stumped. He did not know what in the world that old man was planning. However, since he was going to leave, he should get rid of this cage first, shouldn't he? Otherwise, how else was yours truly supposed to leave? Bloody hell, truly, a single mistake may result in everlasting sorrow. Yours truly has tread through the pugilistic world for so long. Yet, this is the first time I'm taking in such a huge loss. Lin Fan hated it in his heart. However, all of a sudden, he leapt with joy. That's right, the 2 storage rings of that old man are still in the hands of yours truly. Ha ha, that guy must have dementia or something. To think that he would even forget something so important as such. Bald monk, you can stop acting now. That old man is gone. We've got to find some way to get rid of this protective barrier. Once we get to leave, I'll pass you some treasures. Lin Fan said. Benefactor, you mean what you say? The moment Reverend Shakia heard the topic of treasures being brought up, he was elated and invigorated once more. Naturally, Lin Fan knew that he was a generous man. He would just pick some of the lousiest ones for the bald monk in order to fulfill his promise. And just then, the void in the distance rumbled and shook, as a repressing aura tore through the void and pressed down towards them. Human, I've finally found you. Lightning crackled and black clouds surged as a pair of evil eyes akin to those of the heavens bore on them along with an immense amount of essence glow that pressured across the world. Lin Fan frowned before tossing his hands back. FCK, old man, you're bloody trying to scare me again. Yours truly was someone who grew up being threatened by others. There's no way in hell I'm going to be afraid of you. Feng Qingzi, we said that we would never intrude on one another's territories. And yet, here you are in the territory of your utmost being here. Are you trying to renege on our agreement? The booming voice reverberated through one's ears so loudly they could almost go deaf due to it. As though they were waves on an ocean, the clouds and sky began to rumble furiously. This can't be for real, right? The moment Lin Fan heard these words, his heart sank. He had a bad feeling about this. However, he cast that ominous feeling to the back of his head. Lin Fan was almost certain that this was something that the old man had come up with once more. Boom! A thunderbolt split the heavens and earth apart as a hulking figure appeared between the world. At this moment, the world went silent. Every single living being was subservient to this presence as though it was the descent of a king. The moment Lin Fan caught sight of that figure in the distance, his face froze up immediately. Holy FCK, he's really here. Chapter 699, The Imposing Old Man. Chapter 699, The Imposing Old Man. Benefactor, check it out. It's an ancient race being. We can head over to reform him. The moment Reverend Shakia caught sight of that figure that appeared between the world, his heart leapt with joy. Reform your mother. That's an utmost being of the ancient race. Lin Fan had once exchanged blows with the essence spirit of the utmost being. Therefore, he was extremely familiar with this guy. Given his current strength right now, if he had to go head-on with this fella, it would undoubtedly be a straight road to death. What? He's the utmost being? Reverend Shakia was stunned at this moment. For every single living being of the thousands of races, the utmost being was an existence of unparalleled might. Are we all going to die here? Reverend Shakia's face was pale with fright. Can we not? This poor monk has yet to live long enough. Cruel floated gently in the void. Looking at the 2 living beings trapped within that protective barrier, his eyes shone with a matchless essence. He had felt the presence of Feng Qingzi. Because of that, he came forth with his true body immediately. To think that he would discover that accursed human instead. Human, you couldn't have expected meeting me here, could you? In the blink of an eye, Cruel appeared before the protective barrier. The current you are just a fish in a net. There's no way your utmost here is going to let you escape. The moment Lin Fan caught sight of Cruel, he could not help but gulp down his saliva. You must have gotten the wrong man. I'm not a human. Lin Fan was nervous in his heart right now. Given his current strength, there was no way he was a match for this fella. Just that essence spirit alone was nearly enough to have him killed. Now that his true body was here, wouldn't he be squashed into a pancake for sure? Ha ha, to think that that cheap skank fire water empress would take a liking to a human of this standard. Bow down before your utmost or you shall receive death. Cruel's aura was supreme. Just that aura alone was enough to send shivers down Lin Fan's spine. So strong. Seems like the difference between yours truly and him is still quite substantial. Benefactor, what should we do? Reverend Shakia was trembling right at this moment. He was truly afraid. Now that he was before an utmost being of the ancient race, no matter how deep a Buddhist nature he was still scared shitless at this moment. Lin Fan truly did not know what to say any longer. That old man had truly FCKED him up big time now. Screw that sh*t. What can an ancient race being such as yourself do to yours truly? Fine, you're right. Yours truly is the mother *C King Human King, Lin Fan, who specializes in culling the ancient race dogs. Come at me if you've got what it takes. Today, if yours truly were to bat an eyelid, yours truly would even follow your surname. Lin Fan was angered by now. This ancient race being had insulted him time and time again. This was intolerable. Wasn't a fight all he wanted? Even though he knew that he couldn't match up to the utmost being, one must never lose their dignity. Benefactor, please calm down. You must not anger him at all costs. Reverend Shakia remarked hurriedly. There's no way I can calm down. If I'm unhappy, I FCK them up. So what if it's the utmost being of the ancient race? Today, we'll work hand in hand to FCK up the utmost being. We'll see who's the stronger one then. Based on the current situation, there was no use crying for mercy at all. This old man was too damn bloody savage. At the same time, Lin Fan could have never imagined that the utmost being would find his way here. Courting death, Cruel's face turned green with rage as he grabbed at the protective barrier with his palm. Clang! The protective barrier vibrated immensely and a massive surge of energy rippled out. Even Lin Fan could sense that repressive pressure. Ha, and you call yourself an utmost being of the ancient race. To think that you can't even break open a protective barrier. Lin Fan jeered out really loudly. However, his laughter was more terrible than it could have ever been. At this moment, worry was the least accurate emotion to describe Lin Fan's mood right now. Even his heart was thumping furiously. HMPH, even if it's the protective barrier of Feng Qingzi, it will not stand up against the might of your utmost. Get destroyed. The abysmal hand of Cruel descended from the sky and squeezed onto that protective barrier. Instantly, a tremendous amount of power rippled forth from it. Creak. Dense cracks began to appear on the surface of the protective barrier as though it could shatter apart at any moment. Benefactor, what should we do? This utmost being is trying to kill us. Reverend Shakia was fearful now. Even though he had not personally had a taste of the powers of the utmost being, he knew that this was an invincible being. Don't worry. No need to fret. Lin Fan's brain was fluttering rapidly right now. However, no matter how long he took to think, he couldn't come up with any good ideas at all. Looking at that calm expression on Lin Fan's face, Reverend Shakia began to regain his composure as well. To Reverend Shakia, the only reason why Benefactor Lin could be so composed right now must be because he had thought up of some plan or something. Your utmost here shall ensure that you undergo endless torments and suffer harshly. Evidently, that piece of trash gleaming blood lord has already fallen in your hands. The utmost being, Cruel, laughed coldly. Meanwhile, the power in his arm was increasing. Lin Fan knew that this protective barrier of the old man was not going to hold out for much longer. Once this protective barrier shattered, it would be the time of their deaths. The thought of hiding within the heaven and earth smelt did come across his mind. However, if he had to hide within, it would be really messed up. By then, he would be under the control of the ancient race forever. Ha, go to hell, the utmost being hollered out as a torrential aura burst forth from him, causing the entire world to darken. Lin Fan could no longer keep his cool anymore as he started slapping out at the protective barrier. Old man, hurry up and come save our lives. This mess was created by you. You can't just sit back and watch us die for nothing. Looking at the state Lin Fan was in right now, Reverend Shakia was almost close to tears. Benefactor, didn't you say that you weren't afraid? What crap are you still spouting? Hurry up and call for help with me. Lin Fan was exasperated right now. Bloody hell, was it really that easy putting on an act? This person before them right now was the utmost being. Senior, please save us. Reverend Shakia screamed out. Old fellow, I'm convinced now. Save us. Lin Fan yelled out in a bout of snot and tears. This life of his was what Lin Fan cherished the most. If he had to die in such a humiliating manner, it would be one hell of a loss for him. What should you be calling me? All of a sudden, a voice rang out from the void. This voice belonged to Feng Qingzi. Lin Fan's heart leapt with joy. He knew it. This old man hadn't left at all. And to Lin Fan, this old man was really one hell of a bloody harsh mother f***cker. In order to have him convinced, did he really have to go to this extent? Feng Qingzi, do you wish to interfere in this matter? Cruel barked harshly into the void. Lad, let this old fellow ask you once more. What should you call me? Feng Qingzi ignored Cruel's question and asked out again. Why you? Lin Fan was almost going to spit out blood right now. This was the first time he was forced to such an extent by someone. Cheap old man. This old man was simply way too cheap. Benefactor, hurry and go on with it. Otherwise, we're going to die. Reverend Shakia requested. Lin Fan took in a deep breath. Damn it, old fella. Fine, you're tough. Revered master. Lin Fan's eyes were streaming down with tears of shame. He was being forced to do this. Haha, are you finally convinced now? Feng Qingzi was feeling pretty good right now. I am, Lin Fan replied. He was totally disgraced today. Haha, this old fellow has trodden across the ancient saint world and has never failed just yet. Now that you're calling this old fellow your revered master, I'll naturally watch over you. Feng Qingzi chuckled out. All of a sudden, a colossal hand broke out from the void and grabbed Krul's gigantic hand away from the protective barrier. Feng Qingzi, you're breaking the rules here. Unless you're wishing for the place you guard over to be overrun by the ancient race. Krul seethed out in a sinister tone. To think that Feng Qingzi would dare to save someone in front of his face. Break the rules. Krul, you're trying to kill this old fellow's beloved disciple here. Do you wish to incur the wrath of this old fellow? If the ancient race dares to trample over the place which is guarded over by this old fellow shall destroy all the cities of the ancient race as well. Feng Qingzi's expression changed, no longer that cheeky and childish one. In place of it was a domineering and ominous one, no weaker than an utmost being of the ancient race. You dare, Krul roared, what wouldn't I dare to? You've got to remember this. You had better not anger this old fellow here, or I shall speak of no ties with you. At the very same time when you guys are striking over at my guarded place, I can overrun and annihilate all of your ancient race cities. Do you believe it? Try me. Feng Qingzi's tone was cold. Imposing. Lin Fan was initially in a tragic state. However, the sight of this old man acting as though he was a completely different person right now, Lin Fan was convinced. This mother f***cker was even cockier than yours truly. He was so cocky that even Krul could not rebuff his words. Such capabilities were something Lin Fan had to acknowledge as well. HMPH. Feng Qingzi snorted coldly. Ignoring how terrible Krul's face was looking at that moment, he brought Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia with him into the void and left the place. Chapter 700. My heart is made of glass. Chapter 700. My heart is made of glass. Damn it. Krul was burning with rage in his heart while looking at the disappearing Lin Fan. You're going to regret this, Feng Qingzi. Towards Feng Qingzi, Krul had his own reservations as well. At the same time, Feng Qingzi had an agreement with the ancient race, that neither party would interfere with the other. However, both sides knew that this was only a temporary tactic to delay for time. Senior, you're really way too powerful. To think that even the utmost being of the ancient race would fear you. Reverend Shakia remarked in astonishment. He had yet to see a living being who could act so imposingly before an utmost being of the ancient race. That's for sure. Lad, do you feel like you've gained quite a bit of face by taking me as your master? Feng Qingzi looked at the dejected Lin Fan and chuckled out. No-vel-b-in.c ohm. Old man, stop bragging. I was forced to do it by you. Lin Fan felt that his luck wasn't all too good recently, and that he was running into all sorts of misfortune. To think that he would be shammed by an old man. That was quite the tragedy indeed. Huh, force you. This old fellow here would never ever do something such as forcing others against their will. But since that's the case, then so be it. I guess I should just toss you down from here right now. Given Krul's powers, he should be able to hunt you out in the blink of an eye. The moment Feng Qingzi was done talking, he started motioning as though he was truly going to toss Lin Fan out of the void. What are you doing, old man? You had better not get touchy and all. Yours truly here is just showing the virtues of respecting the elders and young. I would never bully an elderly. Don't take that as a sign that I'm fearful of you. Even if he had to die, Lin Fan could not go down right now. If he did, there would only be death awaiting him. But, even if that were the case, he could not throw away his image just like that. Looking at the gloating look on the face of this old man, Lin Fan was brooding in his heart. All right, this old fellow is afraid of you then. All right now, I'm not going to take you as my disciple any longer. You can feel free to leave now. I will not hold you back. Feng Qingzi came to a stop, indicating that Lin Fan could leave any time he wished to. Lin Fan looked at this old man before him and at the distance up ahead. All he could see was Krul standing there and eyeing them with a ferocious look. Badump. Lin Fan could not help but feel a little nervous now. If he were to head down now, he was dead meat for sure. But, how could he toss away his dignity like this? If you want me to leave, I'll leave then. Yours truly has never been scared of anything in this world. It's not as though an utmost being could have me fearing him. Sure, this old fellow welcomes you to leave. Feng Qingzi said casually without the slightest intention of keeping Lin Fan. Yours truly is really going to leave now, You had better not regret this Lin Fan looked back every few steps and couldn't make up his mind. I never ever regret my words. Feng Qingzi stroked his beard. Lin Fan had a feeling that he was being set up right now. This was a feeling of being unable to leave despite how much he wanted to. If he were to leave right now, he would definitely be left lying down the next moment. Looking at the sight before him, Reverend Shakia sighed helplessly. Seemed like one needed someone evil to curb another evil person. Indeed, the older the person, the more experienced they were, and women still had the biggest breasts amongst both sexes. But then again, that saying might have to undergo some changes now. After all, this chest of his was the larger one right now. What now? Can you not bear to leave any longer? Feng Qingzi smirked while looking at Lin Fan, as though he knew that there was no way the latter could escape his grasp. Who said I couldn't bear to leave? I'm just taking a slight breather. Lin Fan even had an urge to cry out right now. Why the hell did he have to be obstinate earlier on? Now, he couldn't even have a platform to let down his pride at all. Furthermore, why the hell was this old man not playing along with him at all? Damn it, this was hurting. Looking at the situation, Reverend Shakia felt that it should be around time for him to make his entrance. Benefactor Lin, can't you tell how sincere Senior Feng Qingzi here is for taking you in as his disciple? To think that there are so many geniuses who couldn't even have him accept them as his disciple. How about giving this poor monk here some face and letting this matter go? Let us leave this place first, shall we? Reverend Shakia commented. The moment Lin Fan heard these words, he cast his sights at the bald monk. He realized that this bald monk's brain was getting better and better. They should get out of this place first before planning long term. Forget it, I'll give this bald monk some face here today. Lin Fan waved his hand dismissively and awkwardly found a platform for himself to step down from. However, the words of Feng Qingzi that came next had Lin Fan pretty disgruntled. This old fellow is never one to coerce others into things. You don't have to give that face then. If you don't wish to take me as your master, there is no need for me to save you either. This old fellow will definitely not make an enemy out of an utmost being of the ancient race just because of someone I do not know at all. At this moment, Feng Qingzi's tone turned solemn. At this moment, the atmosphere around them changed. Senior, Reverend Shakia realized that things were starting to get out of hand. At this moment, Lin Fan retracted that smile of his and leapt out of the void without hesitating. HMPH. I, Lin Fan, am a man who dared to stand up against the world for my entire life. I've never ever been threatened by anyone else. So what if I am to die? So what if I am up against an utmost being of the ancient race? It's not as though Lin Fan is someone who can bow down to the beck and call of others just for the sake of living. Cruel, come and fight me if you've got the guts. I'd rather lose my life than be a dog today. Lin Fan's temper was high-strung. Even though he was usually cheeky and cunning, he would definitely not bend down for others just for the sake of his life. This lad, looking at how stubborn the temper of this lad was, even Feng Qingzi was feeling a little frustrated. Benefactor Lin, just why are you doing this? Looking at this, Reverend Shakia felt a little anxious as well. On the other side, the moment Cruel saw the human leaping down from the void, he laughed out coldly and appeared before Lin Fan instantly. Damned human, let's see who can save you now. Cruel had not expected this human to come knock on death's door by himself. Without hesitating, he grabbed out at Lin Fan immediately. This single palm of his was formidable, as though it could seize the entire world and seal everything. There was no one who could escape from this. So strong. The moment Lin Fan caught sight of this, he was taken aback in his heart. However, he did not reveal it on his face. Senior, highs. Reverend Shakia looked at Feng Qingzi for a moment before sighing out. He then leapt down as well. Benefactor, let this poor monk render you some assistance. Bald monk, what are you doing here? The moment Lin Fan saw how this bald monk would leap down without any fear for his safety, he was extremely touched. Benefactor, even you can stand up front against the utmost being of the ancient race without any fear for death. Does this poor monk look like someone who's afraid of death? Reverend Shakia asked. Haha, good. Today, we'll see just how strong this utmost being of the ancient race is. ... Looking at these two fellas, Feng Qingzi's brows creased, and the aura around his white beard rumbled furiously. Damned lad, this is really a damned lad. I have trodden across all the ancient times and have never ever bowed down to anyone else. But, so be it. I can't help but like you the feistier you are. If you end up not being some unparalleled talent in the future, I'll be the first to slap you to death personally. Feng Qingzi did not hesitate at all. Even though Cruel wasn't the strongest out of all the ancient race beings, he was still someone that these two couldn't handle nevertheless. Lin Fan looked at the palm that descended from the sky and felt his heart tightening. This tremendous power wasn't something he could defend against. Even this one slap alone would be more than enough to have them killed. Bam! All of a sudden, Feng Qingzi appeared before Lin Fan. Tossing his robes aside, he dissipated the oncoming force entirely. Cruel, what are you doing? Feng Qingzi bellowed out, my disciple has just come down for a piss and yet you dare to strike at him. Do you really think that I wouldn't dare to kill you? Feng Qingzi, you had better wait for your utmost. Cruel barked coldly and then looked at Lin Fan with baleful eyes one last time before taking his leave completely. Old man, who asked you to come and save me? Lin Fan heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Phew, he didn't have to bloody die now. Lad, let's take it that I'm the one who really can't beat you. I'll apologize to you. Feng Qingzi took a long sigh. This lad was simply way too stubborn. Even when he was younger, he was nowhere as obstinate as this lad right here. The fact that he was even able to live till now was quite the miracle indeed. Lin Fan looked at Feng Qingzi and wondered if this old man was going mad to treat him so nicely. However, humans had emotions. It wouldn't be all that bad to have a master as such who could care about him. Forget it. On account that you aren't getting any younger, I'm afraid your heart wouldn't be able to take it if I were to agitate you any further. Since you're so keen and have begged so hard for me to be your disciple, I guess I can only accept you reluctantly then. Disciple Lin Fan pays his respect to his revered master. Haha, good, good. At this moment, Feng Qingzi burst out laughing happily, as though his mood had lightened up quite a bit. Disciple, about that storage ring of your master. What storage ring? It's gone. Earlier on, you had gravely injured the heart of your disciple here. Do you know that my heart is made of glass? The moment you touch it, it shatters. In order to amend for it, I've got to take that storage ring to soothe this heartbreak of mine. Otherwise, it's hard to say that I wouldn't just fall dead due to a broken heart, you know. How could Lin Fan return something that he had gotten in his hands? This. The moment Feng Qingzi heard these words, he clutched at his heart momentarily as though he was hyperventilating. Bloody hell, where else in the world would there be such a cheap, dirty, and cunning disciple?